Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspot, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, the world's biggest Harry Kane fan, bringing you another round of Kaniki Answer Me. Of course, as always, we're joined by Jack, the co-host, and today we have Kuvazeski. Now, it was Kuva99, and now it's Kuvazeski. Absolutely love it. Mr. Brady himself and Matty Hayes. Jack, how are you keeping, my man?
I can hear some background noise, but what a panel you've assembled here, Dave, I must say. What a panel. I mean, you got the comedian in Cuba, you got Matizio Romano, down in the bottom right corner, you got the Godfather as well. So excellent panel you've assembled here, Dave. Looking forward to it.
No, it should be an absolute good show. Kuvazeski, how have you been keeping, my man? You keeping okay?
Yeah, I had a nice break from YouTube generally last month. Come back recharged, a good time, team playing well. Everything's good now, isn't it? It's smiling faces around, battering people. The scum are losing a lot. It's all good.
Come back at the right time, Cuba.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't have picked your timing more perfect, Cuba. That's all I could say, my man. Mr. Brady, how are you keeping?
I am good, yeah. I would prefer it if I wasn't looking at the West Ham score at the moment. But apart from that, great. Looking forward to the game on Saturday. Getting over to see the lads batter Brighton. Keep the battering going for another while.
No, look, I'm absolutely buzzing for you. Hopefully you get the result you deserve after the Wolves shambles that we turned up to, Philip. So hopefully you get the result that you deserve. And Matty Hayes, how are you keeping, my man?
I'm good, David. I'm good. It's a weird feeling being so happy as a Spurs fan and being so optimistic for what could lie ahead. But no, it's good. What's that? Are we 6 wins in 7 or 7 wins in 8 or something? And what better time is there to come on with this wonderful panel to talk all things Tottenham?
No, exactly. It's good to have you back as well, Matty. Absolute banging podcast when we were on TV yesterday. It was an absolute cracker.
I
Big
enjoyed
yourself
it.
up. But look, guys, as always, we will go through the chat here, see who is in with us, in to join us, and then we will hand it over to Jack to start dishing out the questions to people. Dermot is in the house. Big up, Dermot. He says, introducing in the green corner. He's live from Kildare, Ireland. He needs no introduction. The world over here is the #1 Spurs and Ireland fan in the world. David Harry Kane, Irish Hotspot Harris. Come on, you Harris Army. Big up, Dermot. Absolutely love that. And he also says, and in the red and blue corner, he's live from Brooklyn, New York. He is the biggest stats man in the world. He's the one and only Jack's son, stats man Kaniki. Come on, you flat cap army. Big up,
Dermot. Working overtime yet again.
Yeah, he's in overtime. He is in overtime, mate. He's not too well at the minute, so I hope you are getting better, Dermot. I hope you are recovering. Just quickly, actually, I forgot a big shout out to my niece. It's her 5th birthday today, so happy birthday, Keela. Hope you really had a good day. I really do. We have Matt C in the house. Good afternoon, boys. We need to sign Kostic in the summer. What a game he is having. Big up, Frankfurt 3-0 up at Barcelona. Sue Smith says, #Harris Army. Big up, Sue Smith. Hope you're doing well. 164 Spur. Good evening, guys. How are you? We are absolutely buzzing, my man. Big yourself up. Hope you're keeping well. Mick Hermanot. Good evening, lads. Says, keep our heads up. Come on, you Spurs. Good evening, Mick. Hope you're keeping well. Nick. Derek Hutchinson. Good evening, David and Jack. Let's get after Harry Potter and his... no, I can't say that. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Harris Army. But look, Derek, we definitely need to get after the Seagulls. That's for sure. Carl Simpson says, evening, gents. I hope you're well. Big up, Carl. I hope you're keeping well,
my man. Good to see you, Carl.
Zoe's in the building. Big up, Zoe. Big up, lads. Can't wait for this. Screw West Ham. Absolutely. Look, I don't
She's
think
pumped today, Zoe did. Run through a wall by the looks of it. Maybe Simeone said something to her. Maybe Conte said something to her. She's absolutely buzzing. I love it.
Big up, Zoe. Hope you're keeping well. We have Mary W in the house as well. Hi, everyone. Let's keep the ball rolling. Exactly. That's what we're talking about. We definitely got to send Brighton back to the seaside to suck on a stick of rock for sure. After we beat them, they'll be crying. Island Life says, evening, lads. Big up, Island Life. Hope you're keeping well. Para Miguel Escobardo says, good evening, David and Jacko. Big up, everyone.
Big up, Paro.
Paro all the way from Lagos. Big yourself up. We have also, evening all, big up. Come on, you Spurs. #Team Højbjerg. Absolutely love it. Big up, old soul. We have Wembley 1. Good evening, boys. What a better way to start the long Easter weekend with the holy triumvirate of THFC Pump Up Supremos. The squad is seemingly being stretched ever more thinly now. It is a worry. Well, it is starting to get to a worry. It's 100%, my man. Claude Murphy says, big up you Spurs. I could already feel the 4-0 victory on Saturday. No stopping us now. Absolutely love that. Dermot, he says, ladies and gentlemen, he is here. He's the man about Spurs. He's the cool one you want to be mates with. He is the one and only Kuva. Is it 69 or 99? Take your preference.
I think I'll have a say in that.
It's Kuvazeski now, Dermot. He also says, ladies and gentlemen, he's here. He's the number 2 Irish Spurs fan in the world. He's here with all the transfer. Matty Transfer Man Hayes. Big up, Dermot.
Don't take it, Matt. That's fighting talk.
No, I've accepted it. I've accepted it.
Scotty Heineman says, big up, lads, to all. Got to keep the good times rolling. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, my man. Michelle again says, so what happens if West Ham win the cup and we finish 4th? Kuva, Jack, Matty, I think one of you are up to date on this.
Yeah. Jack's muted, so I'll take it. So the rule changed a couple of years ago where if a team wins a European competition and qualifies for the Champions League, that doesn't take up a space domestically. So I think we all remember back in, was it 2011 when Tottenham finished 4th, but Chelsea beat Bayern in the final. Tottenham lost their place in the Champions League because of that, but the rule has changed. So you can have 5 teams from England in the tournament as long as one qualifies through Europe. And I think we actually had that a couple of years ago anyway. So if West Ham win, which they won't, Spurs will still get there once we finish 4th.
The only way it would have been in jeopardy is if the likes of Chelsea had won the Champions League and finished outside the top 4 as well. Then it would have been one of the places missing from the top 4. But don't have to worry about that now.
There you are,
Because
Michelle.
Chelsea lost.
I'm absolutely buzzing they went out as well. Do you know what? It couldn't have went any better. They got the glimmer of hope. They could see it before them. And then all of a sudden, it was just snatched away from them by Luka Modric. You couldn't write it. Absolutely love it. And what a ball by Luka Modric, by the way. I think that's one of the best true balls I've ever seen in my lifetime. It was unbelievable.
They'll put the outside of his foot, Dave, in a museum. They'll probably put it up in Manchester, the outside of his foot. Might have its own, kind of, little exhibit.
Oh, 100%, lad. No, honestly, Luka Modric, what a legend. What a legend. Also says, brilliant panel, big up both. So hope you're keeping well. Hope you're eating well as well. He always gets a nice little treat for these streams. Alexander, he says, evening, lads. Big up, Mr. Alexander. Hope you're keeping well. And not to leave Philip out, Dermot has said, last but not least, he is the godfather of the Harris Army. He's the one and only Philip Godfather Brady. Big up, Dermot. Honestly,
vacation.
He's on severe overtime today. He's doubling up on the overtime today. Big up, Graham. I hope you're keeping well. Good to see you, brother.
Graham. Good to see you.
Nate 532 says, great panel. Happy Easter weekend, my fellow Spurs fans. Same to you, Nate. Hope you have a good one. David Powers says, sitting here with Fee and Keela. Shout out to your niece on her birthday. I already gave it to her. Big up, Keela. Hope you really did enjoy your day today. Thanks for inviting me to your party as well. I appreciate it. But big up. And look, we'll start Welsh Gals, just quickly. Welsh Gals in the house as well. Back from holiday, lads. Big up yourselves. Cracking panel. Come on, you Spurs, the Harris Army and the Flat Cap Army. Big yourself up, Welsh Gal. And big up Toxic Headshot as well. Tyler Mills, David W. Big yourselves up, guys. Moondog's in the building as well. Big up, Moondog. Make sure you get your Dyer bet on this weekend as well. Make sure you get that on. But look, Jack, we'll hand it over to you, my man.
Dark Sun G in the house saying Gooners board are terrible. They gave up Kulu for Pepe. I laughed my ass off because of what we are getting top 4. Because of that, we are getting top 4. Gooners and Man U will lose this week. I actually had no idea that Arsenal were in for Kulusevski. Maybe he was part of some sort of ploy by maybe Spurs, to get the deal done. I'm not sure, but the fact that, what is it? Like Pepe was 75 million or something like that. It's kind of ridiculous because
Jack.
we beat ourselves up all the time over the Tanguy and Ndombele fee, and now you kind of wrap your head around the Nicola Pepe fee, and it kind of just makes you think like, which one has actually done more for the club? You could make the argument maybe Tanguy has actually at the end of the day. So I don't know. It's probably an even worse transfer. And then to keep hope that they would keep Pepe over Kulu, Dave, I don't know. It just explains the Gooners. Big up, Dark Sundry.
You just mentioned the French, taking these extortionate fees for like Pepe, Ndombele. They've done us on Kudu and Clinton and G down the years.
Beautiful.
Honestly, we need to get a director of football in from France next time. We start selling our players for like 70, 80 million. Big up, Dark Sunji, my
Get a
man.
second
Really
club in
appreciate
France, yeah.
support. Yeah. Big up, Dark Sunji. Really appreciate support, my man. Marlon Green is in the house. RAA Spurs, Ricky as well. Big yourselves up. Tottenham Tantrum Gold says there's a build-up for Kuva, Philip, and Matty too. Don't worry, we got it, my man. We absolutely got it. Honestly, tripling up on the overtime today, Dermot. Big yourself up, my man. Really do appreciate the support, but do not worry. We got it, my man. We've got eyes everywhere. We got it. And Dark Sun G says, not worried versus Brighton. Beat them 2 times this year. The match in the FA Cup was Kulu and Bentacore's debut for us. Matt, are you joining the Brighton watch-along?
Well, I think that's up to you, David. Am I joining us?
Look, there's a space there if you want to come on and join us, Matty. No problem at all.
Exclusive news: Matt is joining the Brighton watch along.
Oh,
hey, our Dark Sun G, ask the questions, we deliver, my man. Matty His will now be joining us for the watch along. He loves a bit of you, Matty Dark Sun G. He really does. Big
I
up,
love a bit of Dark
man.
Sun G. I won't lie, absolute legend.
He used to love the watch alongs we done on your channel as well, Matt. He was always there, religiously loved them.
He paid my bills for about 4 months.
Big up, Dark Sun G, brother. Really do appreciate the support. But look, Jack, we will hand it over to you, my man. We'll start getting Philip, Kuva, and Matty in here. They're itching to start giving their thoughts on that. Everyone, just quickly make sure you do smash that like and that subscribe button.
Get that like while you're in here, people, while everybody's jumping in. I think I normally start with Philip, but Philip, I am going to apologize. I'm going to start with Kuva because I think Kuva could lead us down 2 paths with this answer. And I'm looking forward to what he might answer with this. Because Kuva, you could take us down the path of optimism, or you could take us down maybe a path of a bit of realism. Your choice, either or are fine by me. But are you worried with potentially Skipp now also being out for the rest of the season? Doherty already kind of feels like a huge blow, but now with Skipp potentially out as well for the rest of the season, how are your top 4 hopes kind of looking? Have they changed? Are they kind of, are they kind of damaged? What are your thoughts?
Well, to say I've been confident about us getting top 4 in the last few weeks is an understatement. I put 20 quid on Sonny to finish top scorer when he was 40-1. I've had a little dabble on us finishing 3rd ahead of Chelsea. I thought they might have had a bit of a wobble. Might still happen, but it's unlikely. But it was good odds at the time. I've always felt that the only thing that's going to stop us on this run we're on at the moment, because we are electric at the moment. Those front 3 are just outstanding. All 3 of them. The goals are flying in from everywhere. The only thing that's going to derail us, we lots of us talked about that, was injuries. We're paper thin when it comes to the squad, and Doherty,
one injury and the whole team changes.
Doherty has made himself invaluable to us. The fact he can cover both of the wing back slots, and he was doing it well. He was really lending something to the attacks on both flanks. He was getting a good understanding with Kulusevski on the right. That was really starting to click into place. Switched over to the left seamlessly. Even with Sonny on top form, Doherty still looked great alongside him. So that's a big miss. And the fact we were thinking it's okay, Skippy's coming back soon, he'll be free from injury, that'll bolster our midfield. We haven't got that luxury anymore.
No.
So I'm just looking and thinking, I'm glad there's only 7 games to go instead of 17.
Yeah. And they're a week apart,
It could be squeaky bum time still, but the way we're playing, I don't fear anybody. I don't even fear going to Anfield. I really feel like we're going to get points out of everything. Sonny's on fire. He's at his unplayable best now. I really think other teams are going to be more worried about us.
Well, Kuva, you've proved it, honestly, with that sort of hope and optimism. Dave putting a 20, on Sonny being top scorer, a bet on us maybe overtaking Chelsea. I must say it's actually probably a bit more optimistic than we've been. So definitely in the right place, Kuva. Philip, have your top 4 hopes been sort of changed by the Skipp news and the Doherty news?
No. Well, let's face it, Oliver Skipp hasn't been playing since January. So, if he came back, it would be a bonus. I agree with Kuva. The only worry would be that Bentancur or Højbjerg got injured. Then we might be in trouble. Regarding Doherty, that's the greatest resurrection since Lazarus. 3 months ago, we wouldn't have cared if he went to Wolves on a free transfer. And now he's an invaluable member of the team.
Called him an impersonator at one point, Philip. We were
we wondered was his brother playing for us, No, it's a big loss. It's tough on the lad because he has fought his way back so well and worked so hard to get where he is now. Probably the most improved player in the squad, And but again, the much maligned Emerson Royale stood up to the plate there on Saturday against Villa. And if he continues to do the same thing for the next 7 matches, I'll be happy. Like, I don't think he's the real deal by a million miles. But if he can just keep the mistakes to a minimum for the next 7 matches till we get over the hump and get into 4th, then we'll see what happens. But no, I don't think we've been severely diminished. Now, if Harry Kane or Son got injured, we might be singing from a different hymn sheet. But let's just hope we've been fairly lucky with injuries this season, really. So let's hope it continues for another few matches.
Matty, I'm getting so much optimism right now. I'm almost looking for, a bit of cynicism at this stage, so if you want to give it to me, you're welcome to, no harm done. I know you're not a big Emerson fan, and he is going to be stepping in for Doherty for the next 7 games. I mean, maybe this could change this sort of question. Can Emerson help us get to top 4? Can he do a job for the rest of the 7 games?
Yeah, he can. And like the lads, I never thought I'd be saying this, but he can't do as good a job as Doherty was doing, because just out of absolutely nowhere, he's stepped up and he's been exactly what we were planning on buying this summer in terms of a right wing back. I think we still will. But yeah, look, Emerson certainly lacks in a lot of departments, both offensively and defensively, which is going to be an issue, but I do feel he's not as bad as some Spurs fans make him out to be. I mean, I'm not a fan of him. I don't think he's a good option for us long term at right back. I think it was a very silly move, and we heard rather quickly after that move was made that Barcelona were laughing behind our backs that we actually paid that much money for Emerson, and I think that probably tells you all you need to know. And maybe Spurs were a bit naive going into that deal, because a couple of weeks before we made that signing, the Barcelona president came out and said, even if you give us 300 million, we won't sell Emerson. We're looking forward to having him. And the fact that they then 2 weeks later accepted less than 10% of that price, I think we probably should have known there was something up there. But look, I'm not worried that weakening one position in our team is going to affect the momentum that we have and the trajectory that we're on. We're getting Sessegnon back now. Apparently he can start on Saturday. So putting him maybe on the left, rotating with Reguilon if needs be as well. I think ultimately the only weak position then in our team, and it's not even completely weak, it's relatively weak compared to what we have elsewhere. I think we can get through having Emerson there, because ultimately up until Doherty hit that good form, it was Emerson who got us this far in the season. Admittedly not in that top 4 race, but we were in that position where we had a platform if we did hit a bit of form to get back into that top 4. So yeah, look, I'm confident with Emerson, with Doherty, with whoever it is at right back. I think Tottenham will continue going the way we're going. And if we do end up missing out on top 4, I would be very, very surprised if it is because of Emerson Royale at right back.
Interesting. Yeah. We kind of trudged along, while we had Emerson. Yeah. And then once Doherty kind of got into form, we became a whole different team. But maybe we can just trudge along into 4th, with the rest of the 7 games with Emerson. Dave, anything that you feel like has been missed, with some of these answers? How are your top 4 hopes kind of looking? Have they changed or anything? Or do you feel like you want to move on?
No, look, they haven't changed at all. Just quickly, look, for me, Matt Doherty, to be fair to him, he was picking up great form. Look, we've 7 games left. I don't think Emerson can do anything that drastically wrong to screw up our hopes of top 4 within 7 games. I don't think
Don't challenge him.
No, look, I don't think he's that bad to the point where he's going to completely, capitulate our hopes of top 4. I think my biggest worry would be the Skipp injury, to be honest with you, Jack. Look, Bentancur has a bit of a knock going into this game as well. Now, they do expect him to be fit and ready for the game against Brighton, but it's just not good that he's carrying that, because once him or Højbjerg goes out, we know who comes into the middle, and that will completely change our team for the top 4 season. We've already seen the difference between Harry Winks and Bentancur. The main thing beside him has been Højbjerg. He's been fine, but there's a massive drop-off in quality in how we play and what we do on the pitch between Harry Winks and Bentancur. There's no surprise since Bentancur's come into that midfield how much we've took off, how much no one's questioning Conte anybody's. No one's questioning the formation. It's just all tickety-boo. And for me, I think Harry Winks coming in has the potential, if we do lose a Højbjerg or a Bentancur in that midfield, it has the potential to derail top 4 completely, because Harry Winks is not brave enough on the ball. He's not quick enough. He's not progressive enough, and he doesn't want to. He's not strong enough or proactive enough to go and win that ball back either. So I think
there are other injuries that could happen. There are other injuries that could ruin the top 4 chances. I definitely agree. And probably the midfield, you might make the argument, is maybe the most fragile because, at this stage, it's with Skipp not available, it is just going to be Winks. And we do know if what happens and we do a double pivot with Winks in there. William Kelly.
What about Hugo? If there's an injury to Hugo.
Galini, we've said it before.
Oh, my
Galini.
God. Don't want Galini. If Galini goes in, forget it.
I thought you were talking about the double pivot, actually, Kuva. I've heard you made that joke.
No.
Going into the double pivot.
Well, he can't play goals, so maybe you should give it a go.
William Kelly in here with the super chat, and I think he's talking about the Oracle here, Dave, saying that the sacking of Paratici, I think, the lady that he saw predicted that Paratici will be dumped at some stage. And I will say, if he isn't a Don by now, I mean, the fact that he's now being accused of cooking the books, over in Italy, I mean, I don't know what makes you more of a Don than that probably in this world. So that's my thoughts on it, William Kelly. And it's good to see, my man. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully that's the one thing she's wrong about, because that was the one prediction I didn't like. That was the one prediction I didn't like of hers. Big up, William Kelly. Faz Radfar says, Ndombele versus West Ham tonight proved he's not changed. Lazy. I mean, the way he walks around the pitch for Lyon is the same way he walks around the pitch for Spurs. So it's actually maybe a bit satisfying to see that, it's not like he's working harder for one club than another. Whereas like with Gio, you could probably make that argument. He seems to work a lot harder for Villarreal than he ever did for Spurs. Whereas with Ndombele, it's the same sort of guy. So maybe there's a bit of solace in that it's the same sort of player.
We want to sell him though, don't we? So
that's
it's
fair.
probably better he plays well.
At least is getting us money. Gio is going to get us money. So that's it.
Look, just give the guy all the price he wants to perform, for the remainder of the season, so we can sell him. I just want him out at the club altogether.
I don't think the words hard working and Ndombele should ever be said in the same sentence because they don't mix.
Yes, of course they do. It's hard work watching Ndombele.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Big up, Baz. Big up, Baz. Great comment. Moving on to the Ryan Sessegnon interview, and I think this is interesting. And Philip, I'm going to come to you first. Even if you haven't seen it, I think I'll kind of explain what happened. Brian Sessegnon gave an interview to ESPN about his career and his time with Spurs so far. You learned a lot about the player from the interview, so I do recommend watching it when you get the chance. But one talking point in the interview was his history of injuries. Sessegnon said that he pushes himself to the limit in every training session, and that has contributed to his injuries, according to him. Are you maybe a bit worried that, given the fact that he's 22 years old, Philip, he's acknowledging himself that he's a bit injury prone, he's had a bad history of injuries. Are you a bit worried that at his age of 22, having that many injuries and having even self-identified as kind of a bit injury prone, does that kind of worry you a bit?
Well, it does in a way. And I can see why he's pushing himself to the limit in every training session. He's trying to impress the manager because he's a fringe player at the moment. He's not regular in the team. I mean, and we all saw the walk of shame he had to make at the Wolves game, which must have been absolutely horrible for the lad.
He's been unlucky.
So, okay, I think it's a hamstring that's his main problem.
I'm trying to remember what's been the persistent one.
Yeah, it's mostly been his hamstring.
Yeah, like if he keeps doing his hamstring, then to be honest, he wants to be very key. He wants to maybe ease up on the training a bit because he's gonna shorten his career if he keeps if he's out 3 months every season. And it's I would be slightly worried about that. Maybe he needs to have an operation on his hand. Maybe he needs to go in for surgery, and whatever the problem is, get it sorted out now rather than 2 or 3 years time when they'll be an awful lot worse. That being said, I hope he can stay fit for the next few matches because, he could play a vital part for us on the run-in.
Matt, there's kind of another element of this interview that I actually thought was pretty, I don't know, kind of admirable. Maybe just a moment of just showing Sessegnon as a top quality person. And he spoke about seeing a psychiatrist during his time in Germany regarding those injury problems that he was having and also his confidence in his own game because of the injuries that he was having. Does this show that maybe Sessegnon is more of a true professional than maybe we ever realized? Because I feel like, Matt, the fact that he went out of his own way to get that psychiatrist, it wasn't, commissioned by the club or anything. He contacted it himself. He went out of his own way to, get himself right in order to play at his highest level. I think that's something I didn't know maybe about Sessegnon that I feel like I learned about. I know it's not really a question, but I thought that was an interesting part of the ESPN interview.
Yeah, to be honest, that was Good to see you, Kirst. That was one of my favorite parts of the interview, because it's such a taboo subject within football, within professional sport, and even, to be honest, within males in society, and talking about that. And I think it's a good step forward for football that a player at the level that he's at can come out and openly say, I had to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whatever it was. And I absolutely commend him for saying that, because for a fact next time he has a bad performance, what the comments are going to say. And I'm sure he's aware of that, but he said it anyway. And there's going to be people out there. You hear all these horrible stories of young footballers who were dropped from teams and stuff like that. I feel having a role model out there in professional football who was able to openly say, well, I went to see a psychologist. I think that's a very important thing within football at the moment. And I also think in the way he's pointed out that he knows why he's getting these injuries, and now that he went and did that by himself, as much as it is a concern that he is so injury prone, for me that shows he knows what he needs, both physically and mentally. It's not like he's getting these injuries and he doesn't know why it's happening, and he doesn't know what to change within his game. He doesn't know if it's a manager. He doesn't know whatever it is. The fact that he can identify where the problem is starting is really, really good, and the fact that he's able to address that, again, as you mentioned, at such a young age, I think it is. It goes to show just how mature he is, both as a player and as a footballer and as a person. And it's probably hard to do that when you first got into a professional team and you were the starting player in so many different positions for Fulham at such a young age. I think you're missing out on a lot of time where you can mature, because you're going straight from childhood almost into the limelight as a professional footballer. So it's absolutely admirable. And I think it's given me more hope than ever that he does know what it takes to get to the top level, and he's working on that behind the scenes. To be honest, if he's doing it publicly or behind the scenes, I don't really care. But the fact is, he's working on that. He knows what needs to be done, and there's no questioning the quality that's in there and the potential he has as a footballer. He just needs to put everything else together, and it looks like he's going a long way towards doing that.
Really beautifully put, Matt. And I actually want to piggyback off of the part that you said, like, he acknowledges it himself, those injuries, and he knows his own problems. And that's where I kind of want to come to you, Kuva. The fact that he has kind of gone out of his own way, to fix his own kind of worries, to fix his own form, to fix his own level of play. I think that kind of made me want to keep Sessegnon, because I've been a bit frustrated, Kuva, I'll be honest, with all the injuries. But when he kind of came out and said that he seems to be kind of trying his best, to kind of get back to full fitness, to try to be consistently available, kind of to show that he is, a true professional, and he is acknowledging maybe what fans are probably frustrated with and what he needs to do in order to improve, which I don't think you can say that about every player, if I'm being honest. I think it just shows that he is a very true professional.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry for the lack of questions on this one. I think it's just was a good interview to learn more about a player, I would say.
It is one of those frustrating things with him, isn't it? It's the injuries more than anything else. There's been flashes where you can see there's a real player here. The way he snuffed Salah out so easily against Liverpool and still managed to get in a little bit of forward play as well. You thought, he can really do a job for us, this lad. But it's every time he starts to have a bit of a run in the team, injury breakdown again. We've seen it with other players, Bale especially. Players at the absolute peak of their fitness level, the ones that are pushing themselves with that extra yard of pace, quite often they struggle. That Aguero always had loads of injuries down the years. Another one who really relies on a lot of physical side to their game, very athletic.
Do you see injuries catching up to him down his career, or do you think he'll somehow get over them?
Injuries always mount up over the course of time. I mean, it's those ones they always talk about. It's not the impact injuries that people worry about. It's when you break down with something on your own steam, the pulled hamstrings, the groin strains, the tears and the muscles. They can always end up a lot worse than even just like a simple fracture or something can heal quite quickly compared. Saw it with Toby as well with his hamstring problems. That was long-term persistent stuff. It's a worry with Cess because it's such a shame as well, because I think he's got a lot to offer. We're just, are we ever going to see it? Is he ever going to get a long enough run in the team to really flourish? Certainly don't doubt his attitude. He seems to be spot on attitude-wise. But it's just a worry for the long term with him. Pushing himself too hard, maybe.
That could be, actually. I think it's a good point. Maybe that's what Bale even did, in training as well. Maybe they just push themselves too much in the beginning of their career, ends up kind of haunting them and ends up catching up to them. Dave, any kind of thoughts maybe on this kind of Sessegnon situation? He's identified as kind of being injury prone at his age, but he's also said he's trying all these things to try to get over it, trying to seek help about it, as well as just acknowledging it and recognizing that he can't really play the same way that he felt like he could when he was 18 or 19. I think this shows this kid actually has a lot more recognition and, self-understanding than maybe most players might.
No, I absolutely love the fact that he's thought about it. He's gone and identified it, and he's gone and done something about it. Because look, too many footballers nowadays,
they probably don't do anything about it.
Yeah, people all around them tell them they're great all the time, and they always look at someone else to blame rather than themselves. They never look at themselves in the mirror, or never, they're always looking for to pass the blame on to the next person. And look, this is something I've been calling for at Spurs for the last 2 years, is some culpability. Look at yourself in the mirror sometimes. And, I have to praise a player for that. Look, this is a young guy. It was like that with Troy Parrott. I used to say about Troy Parrott, he shouldn't have to wait to be told what to do by the coaches or stuff like that to be able to get into the first team. He should be able to identify the weaknesses himself. If you keep getting taught, having to be told what to do in your career, you're going to end up with a career like Harry Winks. If you take things upon yourself and want to do better, and you be like a Harry Kane, who constantly wants to improve every aspect of your game, you'll have a career just like Harry Kane. So for me, I've nothing but praise for the guy, and look, hopefully, he can get himself a good run of games, either at the back end of this season or next season, because I think a guy like that, he, in the games that we have seen him, I know they've been few and far between, but he's affected the game. He scored out in Bayern Munich. He's got a couple of assists this season when he stepped back in before he went injured again. So for me, he's a guy that he's starting to turn it around. And I think with his mentality, if he can get his injury problems sorted, I think you have a guy that will definitely bring something to this team that can impact this team, especially purely because he wants to be better. He wants to get himself out on the field. He wants to do things about it.
And what's the sad truth is you can't really say that about every player. You just simply can't. The fact that he is showing in multiple ways that he is trying to improve himself. And also he seems very interested as well, in the tactics that Conte is instructing him. I would just say everybody really recommends seeing that interview. You learn a lot about the player and kind of get a new understanding of maybe who Sessegnon really is as a person. William Kelly saying Pau Torres for Lo Celso, please. Matty, is Pau Torres your ideal left-sided center back?
To be honest, he's not. He's up there, but I've been saying it since last summer, and I will keep saying it until he either signs a new contract at Inter or joins another team. It's Alessandro Bastoni, and I would do anything to have that man in a Tottenham jersey. He's the perfect player in terms of what the attributes he has. The fact that he's still quite young, and the fact that he's played 95% of his career under Antonio Conte at the top level, and he did it. In a really good way. He excelled under Conte. Look, Pau Torres, I'm not going to say is a bad option. He's a very, very good option. I think I probably agree with Tottenham's identifications of Bastoni and Josko Vardiol as the top two targets for that. I think Vardiol probably won't happen. Bastoni more likely, but again, probably won't happen. I'm sure Pau Torres is on that list somewhere. But yeah, he's at highest third on my list.
Is there any truth to the rumor that we're looking to get him as part of a deal for Lo Celso?
I'm not sure if it's rumors so much as fans kind of suggesting it. I certainly haven't seen anything from anywhere reliable saying that Torres would come to Spurs. And to be honest, if Villarreal end up in the Champions League again next season, I can't see him leaving them for anybody, because he said that when we wanted him in the summer,
the Champions League.
He said he wasn't going to leave if they got Champions League. At the moment, okay, they're 11 points adrift with 7 games to go in La Liga, so that probably won't happen. But look, with the way this season is going, exactly, let's not rule them out winning it, because this season has been absolutely bizarre, and they've been sensational in the Champions League. So yeah, look, I'm not sure it's rumors so much as Tottenham fans wanting it, but it's a good suggestion. It gets a player off our books that I think we have waited too long to get off our books, and it brings in a very good player that suits our style. But unfortunately, I just can't see that one happening.
Yeah, it would make sense us kind of try and negotiate some deal where maybe they don't have to pay anything for Lo Celso, then maybe we get like 20 million or something off of maybe the Pau Torres price. That could make sense. But I agree with you, Matty. I actually don't think there are really any real rumors of that. It makes logical sense that they would try that, but I don't think it's actually been attempted. William Kelly saying Donnarumma is the new goalkeeper. I would say, Philip, there is probably no more intimidating goalkeeper to come up against for a penalty than Donnarumma. The guy is almost taller than the post.
Just before I answer that, I just want to quickly go back to the Ryan Sessegnon situation and this. I'm going to see a psychiatrist. I can't help thinking that if Paul Gascoigne had got the right direction back in the day when he was playing and done the same thing, he mightn't be in the position he's in now. Just a thought.
Do you think that connects to what
should do what Ryan Sessegnon did?
Do you think that connects to what Matty though was saying, like Philip? Because Matty was bringing up that good point that it's kind of taboo, to come out and say that you need help and you have
it's very brave
problems.
It's very brave.
So for Gascoigne's era, it was kind of probably taboo to maybe come out and do that.
Like in Gascoigne's era, that compared to now, that was back in the dark ages. You just didn't talk about things like that. You swept it under the carpet and told nobody. But nowadays, that's a very brave move by Sessegnon to do what he's done, and hopefully it'll encourage other players. And I'm sure there's lots of them who are having doubts about their career, doubts about their future. They're probably not playing as much as they should. They should do the same thing. Go and take counselling, and it'll help everybody. It'll benefit everybody in the long run.
Benefit of even family members.
Goalkeeper. God Almighty, the size of the fella, he's huge.
He definitely ate his spuds when he was younger, Philip.
What's that?
He definitely ate his spuds when he was younger.
He certainly did. Yeah. No, I still want Gavin Bazuma, but Donnarumma would be an option, but whether we get him or not, does he want to come to the Premiership? Is he even available?
I think it's because the almighty Keylor Navas has, continued to play over him, and he hasn't exactly. I think he's done fine, so I've heard Donnarumma, but he's just not playing as consistently as people thought. Keylor Navas is the one that's still playing ahead of him.
No, the thing about it is, with Hugo on a 2-year contract now, is likes of Donnarumma going to come in and fight for his place? It'd be great to have 2 class keepers like that instead of one and worrying about the next one that's coming on like we are at the moment,
Yeah.
But, bring him on. But Paratici would need to work his magic again there to get that transfer to go through, I think.
Certainly would.
That's if we have Paratici. These rumours of the 18-month suspension are hovering again now. So,
well, if anybody's going to find a way to get that deal done, it would be Paratici. Yeah. He'll cook the books to find it.
Get him done before he gets the push. Yeah.
Big up, William. Really appreciate support, brother.
Big up, Zoe. Great comment as well. Absolutely. And also, Zoe, love that she's, been looking forward to this one as well. It just gives, kind of a bit of confidence about the show as well. Big up, Zoe. But moving on, I kind of thought that we kind of covered everything Sessegnon-wise. And like I said, everybody, really do encourage everybody seeing that interview. There was an Athletic article that came out recently about Romero, everyone. And there was kind of some quotes that came from Romero when asked about his style of play. And he said, I've always had that spirit and desire and aggression. And I think if I ever lost that, I'd have a problem. That's when he was kind of being asked about his aggressive, sort of physical style of play. Kuva, my question to you then is, do you feel like he would be a worse defender if we kind of trained him to be a bit calmer, less of a hothead at times? Do you think that's just what makes him a good defender? If we tried to tame him, tame the Romero, we might actually have a worse Romero. Would you believe that?
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, I'd rattle his cage before the match starts. just get him going. Tell him that some of the opposition has slept
some
with
electric
his wife
shocks to the hands.
Just get him absolutely fired up, looking for blood. I think he's brilliant at it. It's kind of the same mold Pochettino has always talked about, where you'd put your foot in and let somebody know you're there in the first minute of the game. Even if he picked up a booking, then you just manage it subtly for the rest of the game. But you put yourself out there first. You show him who's boss. You really let them know you're the man. Romero wouldn't change anything about him at all. He's going to get sent off occasionally. He's going to pick up a hell of a lot of bookings. But my God, he just makes that pitch his.
But the upside of when he doesn't get sent off and the upside of when he doesn't, get that yellow card is
risk reward, isn't it? It's like playing the high line. You get more from benefit from him playing that way than him not playing that way. The team responds to it as well. It's beautiful when we're under pressure and Romero just swoops in with a perfectly timed tackle, and their poxy little opposition player goes flying, and Romero's just striding away with the ball, easy pass out. It's like it's nothing. It's like he does 10 of them before breakfast. Easy for him. It's just pure quality. It inspires everybody around him. Never going to change that. Absolutely no way. Fire
Probably
him
has
up.
bone
Keep
marrow
him
for
fired up.
breakfast.
Yeah, he's just give him another bone to gnaw on. Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Dave, Dave, give me your thoughts on like Romero is even saying right here. How dare you try to tame me? Dave, if we tried to tame the Romero, would we end up getting a worse Romero?
Yeah, of course you would. Look, some players just need to have that aggressive edge. They need that contact to be able to, stay focused in the game, stay engaged in the game, but also they feed off it and they grow. It helps them grow into the game. For me, look, Jack, you don't buy a lion to tame it. You really don't, lad. You just don't do it, lad. And for me, I think, honestly, if you tame this guy, you deserve crimes against humanity slapped against you, because this guy absolutely feeds off it. It gets him up for the game. Like, you look what he done to Lucas Digne against Aston Villa, the step over, the shoulder.
Yeah.
Look, even when he's on the ball, I mean, the guy stands on it for like 2 minutes sometimes just to get a shoulder, just to get some contact. He needs it. He's shown us he needs it. The very first thing he does in games, he watches people dilly-dally around on the right-hand side. He waits for the ball to come out, and he just smashes them. Honestly, he just gets in his head, Romero must smash, and then he goes. You know what I mean? It's absolutely unbelievable. Look, we need a player like this at Tottenham. Too many times over my lifetime of supporting this club, and it's only 30 years. I'm nowhere near as has many years in as Kuva and Philip here, but we've had a soft underbelly. We have had a soft underbelly for many years. When Sir Alex Ferguson rocks up and his team talk is, lads, it's only Spurs, and then they come out and end up slapping us then 5-3. I mean, it just proves that we've had a soft underbelly, and we need people like Romero. You look what happened to us at the Battle of the Bridge. Okay, we were sort of up for it, but we still went out and lost that game. You have a Romero in that situation, you probably don't go and lose that game. So for me, I think this guy is absolutely unbelievable, and you cannot tame the beast. It's like Dele Alli. Since Dele Alli lost that aggressive spark to him, that aggressive edge, he has never been the same player. He feeded off playing off the edge, and so does Romero.
Yeah, I completely agree. Philip, do you feel like Romero is sort of Spurs' version of like Pepe, Real Madrid's Pepe? Is he kind of our Pepe? And do you think every team, not every team, but do you think maybe Spurs kind of have long needed a player like a Pepe, that's untamable, that's just, unpredictable sort of kind of player, but brings that edge?
With all due respect to the centre halves of the past, especially I'm thinking of Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld, we haven't had a player like Romero in the side since Graham Roberts. He'd be the nearest thing to him, I think, in aggression. And that's 30 years ago. All I can say is don't tame the beast. Feed him raw meat before every match. That's what I say. Get him out there and absolutely devour the opposition. Because, okay, he'll get the odd booking. I think he's safe enough now for the rest of the season on booking. So, God help the Brighton attack on Saturday. But no, don't tame him. He's like got to have that edge. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope he doesn't have too much to do now. Maybe he scores at the other end. But no, he is an absolute godsend to us. If you look at the spine of the team now, Hugo at the back, Romero at centre back, Betancourt and Højbjerg in the middle, and Kane and Son up front. That's right. The spine right through that team is the strongest we have had in living memory, really.
Yeah.
And he's an absolute integral part of it, and long may it continue. He's only going to get better. He's only 23, which is quite ridiculous. When you think we've got him at 23 and Kulusevski at 21, look at the prospects we're going to have over the next few years with those guys.
And you know what's funny? Sorry, Philip.
No, go on there, go on.
I was going to say, you know what's funny? No one wanted to go down this route where we were buying for the future either.
Well, I mean, the thing. Okay, Steve Hitchen was buying for. I don't know what he was buying for. Steve Hitchen was shopping in Aldi, whereas Paratici has gone to Fortnum and Masons or Harrods to get the players. That's the comparison I'd make. And Romero is an absolute rock, and I hope to God he doesn't get injured or he doesn't get sent off. But long may it continue. He's going to be our mainstay centre-back for many years to come.
Are you going to be kind of rattling the cage alongside Kuva, before the games, Philip? Rattling his cage,
I actually, I think he'd be like if put it like this: if you go back to Roman days and the Christians and the lions, and Romero was a Christian and I was a lion, I'd be scared. If you get where I'm coming from,
I think I saw that brutal series actually called Rome. I know exactly what you're talking about because there was that brutal series on HBO called Rome, and it was a bit too violent for me back then.
Well, there you go. He's brilliant. He's got that Argentinian edge to him, which a lot of Argentinian players have. And
Matt, yeah, I agree. Philip. Matt, I know we've been just praising the guy, but again, I'm giving you the opportunity to maybe bring us back down to earth, or you could just take us even higher up if you like. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Romero needs to be tamed a little bit, or do you think that's what makes him the player that he is?
Let me paint you a picture, Jack. Imagine you go into this incredible Michelin star restaurant. You go over to London, right? And you go into Gordon Ramsay's restaurant and you order the biggest, juiciest burger that you can find, right? And you've got the whole works. You've got your brioche bun, you've got your big juicy patty, you've got your bacon, you've got your lettuce, you've got your cheese, your ketchup, your mayo, and all that. You got your chips on the side, and you know what? You get that burger, yeah, and you throw away the chips, and you throw away the brioche bun. You get rid of the bacon, you get rid of the burger, and you start eating the lettuce, and you just enjoy the lettuce. That's like buying Christian Romero and taking away that aggression and taking away that crazy side of him. It's absolutely ridiculous that you would
cheeseburger,
it's
no
what makes
meat,
him,
all lettuce.
it's that aggression and that kind of fearlessness that makes him as good a player as he is. I mean, I always go back to that debut against Passos Ferreira in the Europa Conference League, and the centre back we brought in, defender of the year in the Serie A. He's a really good prospect. We're still not sure. Then all of a sudden he's playing right wing on his debut. Like, what the hell are you doing? But that's the beauty of Christian Romero. I was having an argument with I don't know if you know Oscar from All These TV on WhatsApp the other day, and he was trying to tell me Ben White is better than Christian Romero. And I was giving him out all his stats, and Romero has all these tackles, and he brought up a quote from Paolo Maldini, which Maldini said, "If I have to make a tackle,"
misused that quote. Misused that quote. Sorry,
but he said, "If I have to make a tackle, I've already made a mistake." The difference of Christian Romero is the tackles he makes are at the edge of the opposition box. Or it's like getting the ball off the midfielders. So he steps out of that defensive line. He had 3 or 4 tackles against Alan St. Maximin in that game against Newcastle, but not one of them was St. Maximin trying to get past Romero. It was Romero simply looking at St. Maximin, getting hungry, thinking, "I want that football off you," and he just went and got it. And it's as simple as that for him. And the fear that I had with him, I think I said it quite a bit over the summer, was when you're at his age, you have this knack where you love to step out of that line to proactively go and get the ball, as I describe it. At times you're going to make mistakes, and at times you're going to be rash. You might get turned, or it might be a quick 1-2 and someone's in behind you. I can't remember a time when we've seen that with Romero. He seems to judge everything so well. And like Philip said, he's only 23 years of age. There's so much more improvement to come in him. And the fact that
he's more understanding, he'll become even smarter. He'll become even smarter over time.
Absolutely. And similar to what we were saying about Sessegnon, it's not even Christian Romero getting to know the Premier League better. Once he gets to know his own game better again, that's where the fear is for opposition teams. And I fully agree with the point about the Vertonghen and Alderweireld and Romero just being a different type of defender. And David, I think I said it in the podcast last night that if we can get one of these players that Antonio Conte wants at left back or left centre back, whether it's Bastoni, Vardy, Altares, whoever it is, if it's a player that Conte identifies, straight away for me, that defence is right on its way to being better than what we had with Alderweireld and Vertonghen back there, better than that Belgian wall. And Christian Romero is going to be a huge part of that. And I mean, look, he's the background on my phone. We all know if a player is a background on my phone, he's doing something right. So yeah, we've got an incredible player in our hands, and I'm looking forward to what's to come over the next 5 years of his contract.
And I just want to add to that.
There was a couple of things Matty said I think it was worth expanding on. I think we should be talking about Romero as the full cheeseburger. I think that can stick. I like that.
With all the toppings.
I was getting sweaty when Matty was building up that burger, and it's disappointing when I found out we were just having lettuce.
It was the best analogy.
I had to teach you a lesson, David.
We've all heard that picky eater, that says, cheeseburger, no cheese, all the burgers, no ketchup, no nothing on it. And that's just that version. That Romero is the cheeseburger with no cheeseburger, just lettuce. I absolutely love that.
I think the Spurs coach now has a cage. They tow a cage behind the coach now after on the away matches, and they put Romero in it on the way home.
They put him in like a prison escort vehicle on the way to the matches. Absolutely love it.
I think the other point is Matthew is getting at it. It's the nature of Romero's tackling. It's not just winning the ball. It's like when the opponents have committed themselves to an attack, they don't realise they're about to lose the ball. He's so good at just suddenly changing the game. He steps in and we're instantly on the counter attack. And with the forwards we got, it's lethal. And it's so often it's Romero. Bentancur's also excellent at doing this. Just to very quickly win the tackle, sidestep to get away from his man. The ball's away. We're on the attack. We're really hurting people with this. And the fact that there's more people able to do it on the pitch nowadays, it's really helping us. It's the nature of those tackles Romero makes that's so good. It's not just that they're crunching. It's really well-timed and like maximum damage to the opposition when he wins that ball.
Do you feel go on, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think that's a very good point Kuva made. But I also want to just add about the physicality and the aggressive nature of and maybe the rashness of some of his tackles. Look, I get some people may want to tame him or may want him to maybe, calm down on them a little bit. But at the end of the day, look, I think we've all played. A lot of us here have played football. We've all played senior league at a young age, and at the end of the day, the players you don't want to be marked by are the ones that are rash, the ones that will kick you, the ones that will hurt you. And what it ultimately does, it makes you think about it twice. You're thinking, do I want that? If I put the ball by him, there's a chance he can take me. You end up changing your game, passing it inside, passing backwards. You then beat that player up psychologically, and then he ends up having a bad game. There's a method to Romero's madness.
There is a method to it. And Philip, he's also won these like psychological battles, with people he's come up against. He made Antonio not want to play football. And to be honest, Antonio is one of those players that loves the physicality, loves, bumping into players, loves, kind of the physical challenges. But he seemed to make Antonio not want to, be in those physical challenges anymore. Is that also maybe something he provides where he's going to stand toe to toe with whatever, big number 9 that will come up against?
Centre halves do their homework on their opponents, as do centre forwards do their homework on the centre halves. And I would say now that Romero is getting a reputation as one of the players, a bit like Virgil van Dijk. You do not want to play up, but you don't want to play against him, really, because you know just how good he is. And I think he will. What's trying to see on the phone there? What's that, Matty?
Looks like a heart. I'm confused.
Can't make it out.
Did anyone could tell what that is? Maddie, explain. Don't leave us in suspense.
Sorry, I was muted. I was explaining that the whole time. So Faz Radfar asked what Harry Winks would be, and it's this cheeseburger that was served at Leeds at the weekend.
Oh, wow.
Or Joe, when you're making pancakes and you make the first pancake, but it's really oily, so you just have to throw it out. That could also be Harry Winks.
Yeah, that could also be it.
No, I mean Romero is going to be, as Van Dijk is what 5-6 years older than him. He is the heir apparent to the best centre back in the Premiership.
Agreed.
That's my view on him.
And any final words on Romero before we finish this sort of love session on the guy? It seems like the whole chat, as well as the whole panel, has been resoundingly no against even trying to tame him. Some have even gone so far as, starve him longer, before the games, make him even more, kind of aggressive and antsy. So it seems like everybody's in firm defiance against taming the Romero, which, I do love to see. Now to the kind of the question of the evening, and I want everybody in the chat to give me their thoughts on this as well, because it is kind of a very interesting sort of thought, because there are a lot of people, I think, who, just aren't Højbjerg fans, and I think that is plenty okay. And there's an article from The Athletic released very recently. I thought it was a really fascinating article, and he was saying that basically Højbjerg is kind of often forgotten, maybe in terms of the success, of this team of recent, maybe because he's been sort of ever present. Maybe it's because he plays every game that we kind of just sort of forgotten about the player. Maybe he's just not the flashiest of players is maybe the reason why. Conte even said after the Newcastle post-match that no one ever asked me about Pierre. No one asked me about him. But in every game, he is doing a fantastic job with the ball, without the ball, and is strong physically. No one asks me about him. I mean, what are your guys' thought about this?
I think he's,
is he a divisive character, do you feel like,
Philip? No, well, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he's Aaron N'Golo Kante. He goes about his work. You might notice half the work he does on the pitch unless you're following him all the time. He's covering, he's back, he's tracking back. Okay, he makes the odd mistake on the ball, gives the ball away, as they all do. But I really don't understand the hate. I won't say hatred for him, but lack of acceptance of his role in the team that there is amongst a lot of Spurs fans. Like, I know Ellie is his biggest defender, and I can see where she's coming from.
But I guess what I'm asking, Philip, is like, where do you think they're coming from? Like, it's maybe
I don't
not as
know.
much
Listen.
a Højbjerg defense, as much as I would love to put up a good Højbjerg defense. I think it's maybe like, where do you think people are coming from for why they don't like him? Why do you think people
I don't know. It's like everything else. So if you start a rumor and it spreads. Somebody comes out, I don't like Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And people jump on the bandwagon for no other reason than they jump on the bandwagon. And there's too many of them out there. I've seen him being called average so many times. Well, if he's average, what's Harry Winks?
Well, absolutely.
That's the sort of thing. I mean, I really don't understand why he gets such. Why people don't buy into what he's doing. Would they rather have a midfield with just Harry Winks bossing it? Because I'll tell you one thing: if that was the case, we wouldn't be sitting in fourth now. We'd be 14th. That's where we'd be. So no, I'm on the Højbjerg train and always have been and always will be. So I really don't understand this.
I know you will, Philip, but I think I am trying to get to the bottom of it. And it's kind of actually what that Athletic article was trying to do, Maddie. They were trying to get to the bottom of, what maybe why is Højbjerg so divisive? Because I think Jack Pitbrook he said, unscientifically put out a poll on Twitter, asking, what they would want, what they want Skipp and Bentancur right away, what they want Højbjerg and Bentancur for the rest of the season. Kind of a large majority went still for Skipp and Bentancur, despite Skipp not playing, like someone said earlier, since January. What do you think, like, where does it come from, Maddie? Like, where do you think, what maybe rubs Højbjerg off the wrong way with people?
Well, to be honest, first of all, just give my opinion on that poll. For me, if Skipp is back tomorrow or if Skipp is back before the last day of the season, I'm still playing Højbjerg and Bentancur. Skipp has been an incredibly important player for us, and the statistics show you when he's on the pitch, we do better. I don't know how that's been skewed with our form in the last couple of weeks, but before that, when Skipp was on the pitch, we did better. And there's no doubt that he has massively, massively improved his game last season on loan at Norwich, and he's even stepped it up even further this season. But you don't fix what's not broken. And that Tottenham midfield at the moment is working absolutely perfectly. And I think that's probably should be like a separate thing to whether you prefer Højbjerg or Skipp. I think it needs to be solely what works for the team. And right now, Højbjerg and Bentancur in there are complementing each other really well. So for me, I'd keep that going. But what David actually, when he asked me to come on a while ago, he sent me the topics, and I thought it was a really interesting question. Why is he so divisive? And I wanted to look into the stats a little bit, and I picked out a few things because I would say Højbjerg's level has dropped this season, but the fact that he's still such. Yeah, the fact that he's still such a good player for us and is still so important, I think goes to show just how good he was last season. And he is N'Golo Kante. Like, that is how important he was to us, especially last year. But I think what's happening this year, as we're becoming a bit more expansive, admittedly still at our best on the counter-attack, but we are a little bit more expansive. And what you're saying there about Bentancur, with how he has that similar knack to Romero, where he is aggressive, he likes to proactively go out and get the ball. I've mentioned quite a few times how that rubs off on Højbjerg. And Højbjerg previously, where he would have been happy to sit in front of the defence and allow things to happen, he's now being dragged further and further up the pitch, both out of possession and in possession. And I think we saw a bit during the Euros, especially in the summer, and I think we were all taken aback by it, that Højbjerg does have a good ability going forward. He played some very good through balls. He almost played as an attacking midfielder at times, and he looked good. But I think in this Tottenham team, that doesn't quite suit him. And just looking at the stats, in 9 fewer games this season, he's had twice as many shots as he did last season. He is really getting further up the pitch. He's getting more involved in that attack. He's played a few fewer passes, probably because the games are fewer. But in terms of defense, he's less interception, less tackles won, less clearances, less headed clearances, less aerial battles won. So he's been asked to do a lot more of the stuff that I would argue he's uncomfortable with, but he's doing it well. He's doing it at a higher level than you would expect any other Premier League destroyer to do. You know, he was seen as a very one-dimensional player and that he could win the ball back. But once he did that, there's nothing else that he could do. I think he's proven this season that isn't the case. But while he's waiting to get that side of his game up to the level where we know he had been last season, there is naturally going to be a period there where it may look like he's underperforming. I don't think he's underperforming. I just think he's adapting. And he's doing it very, very well. And I struggle to see any instance where Tottenham are better off with that man not in the squad.
I agree. And even just as a backup, maybe in the future, he'd still definitely do a role for us. My kind of potential theory here, Kuva, and I think it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on this. I think a lot of people find him to be a bit of a passion merchant, you know, and sometimes people just don't like those sort of players, you know, because they think they're kind of attention seeking, you know, maybe teachers' pets, you know, kind of sort of players, right? And it makes sense, you know, that maybe people get kind of rubbed off the wrong way by people who are, you know, trying to do everything to look good in front of the fans and everything. Do you think that's maybe a fair label for Højbjerg being a passion merchant, or do you think that's just kind of who he is? Because actually in the article, it mentioned that one of the things that even upset some players in the squad was when Conte got hired, he showed up like intentionally, some people said 45 minutes before anybody else, so he could shake Conte's hand and talk to Conte. He stays after practice and talks with them for 30 minutes. He hands out all the bibs to the players in the beginning of training. He's always there early and everything. Are these sort of things like maybe where people kind of get rubbed off the wrong way with him? Maybe he's a tryhard, you know, that sort of logic. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with the reasons, you know, trying to speculate.
Well, for me, I almost feel like this is why you brought me onto the show tonight, is to be the opposite argument to Højbjerg on this, because to me, he is just a 6 out of 10 player who gives you 9 out of 10 effort. Now that isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't make him a great player. It just means he's one of those cogs in the machine. And if he's doing that week in, week out, and the likes of Bentancur is doing winning the tackles and making the swift passes and doing the more sort of eye-catching stuff that gets you off your seat, it works. It's okay. It's not panic. I'm not in some desperate need to get Højbjerg out of the team.
Yeah.
Do I think he can be upgraded? Yeah, very comfortably. There's lots of players out there. I've never been a fan of this sort of Makelele role, that the one who seemed to make it famous, and who was the other one? Deschamps for France as well. Same sort of player, the water carrier. I think that what's wrong with being able to play a bit as well. We always used to do that in the past, 2 box-to-box midfielders who could do a bit of everything. And it seems to me like Højbjerg, I think you appreciate him more if you're one of the players, I would have thought, because he's doing a lot of work for you. If you got him working his socks off in front of you and your defender, you probably very much appreciate that. But as for catching the eye, no, he doesn't really, does he? He's never going to be that kind of player. An occasional goal you could cheer along for, but I've always think we make too big a deal of idolising some very average players over the years. To me, he is average, but like I said, average with 9 out of 10 effort is worth something when you've got a partner that works
Gets
with
a
you.
spot in the squad at this moment in time.
He's worth his spot in the team at the moment. There's no doubt about it. I just think he is replaceable, but I'm happy with him there at the moment.
I appreciate, you Kuva stepping out and, giving me, the theories, giving me the opposite, what are the Højbjerg, doubters, where are they coming from? And I think, it gave me a bit of insight. Dave, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing here. Where do you think people are coming from on, kind of Højbjerg? Is it that he's a tryhard, maybe does too much in front of the cameras, to show the passion? What do you think rubs him off the wrong way with people?
Look, I'm not going to say all. But there are fans out there who are absolutely loving this guy when he came in to be the still behind Ndombele. I know Kuva's always been consistent on his opinion on Højbjerg, to be fair to the guy. But look, for me, you have to look at the situation. We had Ndombele in midfield. We had no steal in midfield. So we went and got Højbjerg to be that steal. He done his job. People were waxing lyricals about him because he looked good with Ndombele in the midfield because he was doing all the defensive work. Now, look, during this season, we lost our way in the central midfield. We were sitting there with Højbjerg and Harry Winks. And because Harry Winks wasn't doing what he was supposed to be good at, which is being that ball player, all of a sudden people started putting Harry Winks' deficiencies and started asking them questions on Højbjerg. Now, that's not what we brought Højbjerg in to do. If we like, you know, our playmaker at that time was Ndombele. So why would all of a sudden do you want a player to do something that he's never ever done and that he wasn't brought in to do? He was brought in to win that ball. He was brought in to be that steal in midfield, not be this player that's spraying balls 50, 60 yards, being the one to get us forward the whole time. And because, like, I just don't get it. All of a sudden, Harry Winks wasn't doing that, and people are starting to put all his deficiencies on Højbjerg, and I don't think it's fair. I think, look, and I've always maintained this. I've always said this. I was battling away in group chats about it and everything. You put a proper ball playing midfielder in beside Højbjerg, he looks 10 times better. We went and got Bentancur, ball playing midfielder. You put him in beside Højbjerg. All of a sudden, no one talks about Højbjerg anymore. No one talks about Højbjerg's passing. Everyone just leaves him alone. And for me, I think, look, every team needs that guy with skill in midfield. You make that right team. Chelsea had Makelele. AC Milan had Gattuso. Every team has had that player. Arsenal had Patrick Vieira. You know, every team has had that steal in midfield along that ball-playing centre midfielder, which is what Scholes was for Man United, which is what Lampard was, or you could pick Ballack even, you know, for Chelsea. There's other examples out there. Midfield is all about a balance. It's all about partnership. And at the end of the day, at the time, like when people were starting to put everything on Højbjerg, like I was watching a game there one day where Højbjerg was the one getting out, chasing balls down, and Harry Winks was packing his suitcase on his way to Lanzarote. You know what I mean? You're looking at Harry Winks. Okay, Højbjerg's pressed. Where's Harry? He's standing 10 minutes behind him, you know, asking him what aftershave he uses. It smells so good. It's like, you know, and he wasn't doing his fair share of the defensive duties, his fair share of the running. And then all of a sudden, people were putting everything on Højbjerg. And I get it. Højbjerg was our best midfielder at the time. But he's a specialist in one thing, and that's what we brought him in to do. So now that Bentancur's come in, there's not really any more questions on Højbjerg. And I've absolutely loved this guy from day one. I love a guy that'll go around, that'll get stuck in, you know, and every team needs it. Again, with Romero behind him in the centre-back positions, we have a bit of steel right through the middle, and that's what you need. Now, I do agree with Kuva. Like, don't get me wrong, you can't get a player that has that steel that can also do that ball-playing ability. You can't get that. But right now, for me, I'm certainly not in a rush to get rid of Højbjerg. I think, look, you look at the guy, I think everything about him is captain material. You look at this guy, when everyone had their heads down and everyone was not taking any responsibility, he was the one dishing it out to them on the pitch. It was Højbjerg. He was there pointing fingers, you know, blaming people, which is what you need. And I have no problem being a teacher's pet either. I mean, I'd rather a guy that shows up early every day with the enthusiasm than someone
being paid $100K a week. You might as well be a teacher's pet.
Jack, I'd rather have Højbjerg.
Yeah. If Højbjerg is teacher's pet, then what's Sonny? Because he's going to be even more of a class squat, hasn't he?
But the thing is, like, I'd rather have a Højbjerg there than a Dele Alli, than an Ndombele, than a Lo Celso. People who don't want to be there probably rock up just about on time so they don't get fined, and the first one's out there. So for me, look, I think just lay off Højbjerg's back, get behind the guys, the Viking for a reason. And look, if you don't believe me, well, then you'll certainly believe Ellie. She's his number one fan. So.
Don't cross Ellie on the subject, I'll tell you that. Philip, I really like Zoe's comment here. She's saying people expect sexy midfielders like Paul Pogba and Neves. I like Neves, but the grit is what we missed in this team for such a long time. Maybe that's kind of like the reason why Højbjerg isn't everybody's favorite, Philip, is he's not really the flashiest of midfielders. He's not the best looking on camera or anything when doing anything. He's a bit clunky, you know, at times. Maybe it's just that, you know, he's just not the most aesthetically pleasing when we watch him. I think you're on mute. Sorry, Philip, I'll unmute you.
A lot of them does go, you know, unless you're watching him full time, like I said earlier, goes unnoticed. You know, he does. He's the I don't know, the hod carrier. He does all the heavy lifting in the centre midfield. He doesn't do the nutmegging on the halfway line, the 40-yard pass out to the wing. Okay, he does it an odd time, but not that often. So, yeah, I mean, I'll put it like this way. Who would you rather have in the Tottenham team at the moment, Emil Højbjerg or Paul Pogba? know my answer every time, and it's not Pogba. So
Is that maybe where they're coming from then? It's just everybody wants to have a Real Madrid looking like midfielder, and the Højbjergs of the world are never going to be those sort of players. Maybe that's
no,
what
they're
it
not.
is.
They're not. But they're the guys that win you matches by their sheer grit and determination. Whereas the flashy midfielder might win you the odd match with a through ball to Harry Kane that he scores. But let's face it, we haven't had a ball playing midfielder in that team since Christian Eriksen left. Really, when you think about it. So we've done okay without one. So, I would be I take the point about the sexy midfielders, but no, we've enough sexy forwards to make up for it.
Yeah.
Definitely true. And we have 190.
Sorry, I was going to say, I suppose you could look at it. It's the Batman and Robin thing. Him with Bentancur. Bentancur's being Batman, and Højbjerg's just being the dependable sidekick.
Yeah. He's always going to be a Robin. No more than that. Never more than that. Never going to be a Batman. I agree.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I actually think, Bentancur coming in has probably bought a bit more out of Højbjerg in terms of going forward. You look at some of the passes he's playing now that maybe he wasn't playing before. I think with Bentancur coming in, I think Højbjerg feels like, and this is, look, I could be maybe going a bit too far on Højbjerg's side here, but I think the reason why you're seeing some more of these risky passes from Højbjerg is because he knows that if it doesn't work out, Bentancur will help him win the ball back. Whereas with Harry Winks, I think he was more afraid to play them passes purely because he knew if it didn't work out or if the ball came straight back the opposite way, they'd just come straight through the middle and he wouldn't get the help from Harry Winks to be able to win it back. And I think he trusts the team now more to be able to play them passes than what he did before. I think that's maybe why you didn't see him play them. But just quickly, everybody, there's 195 in the house. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Also, get over and check out Matty H's Tottenham Blogs channel, flatcapeurotalk. And guys, feel free to get your super chats in. Any questions for the panel, whether you agree, disagree with us, it is a great way to support myself and Jack on the journey. But look, don't worry if you're not in a position to be able to do so. We know it's a big bad world out there. Keep getting your comments in the chat.
Everybody, like David said, 195 in the house, petering over 200 at certain moments. So everybody do hit that like button while you're hopping in. And as well, like David said, if you feel like you want to bring in your point, maybe on this Højbjerg discussion or maybe future questions as well, feel free to throw it in a super chat, but we continue to bring up your comments on screen. Maybe my last little sort of, kind of Højbjerg kind of question.
Very, very quickly, I would take Pogba ahead of Højbjerg, but I wouldn't play them in the same position.
Explain. Kuva, explain. I was going to ask
Pogba's more further up the pitch. It's just, I think it's easier to replace Højbjerg than it would be to replace a Pogba if you get him playing. Because much as I don't like Man United, and I find Pogba a bit questionable at times, when he's playing well, he destroys teams.
World-class ability, world-class haircut. What's harder to replace, the ability or the haircut? I agree, Philip, or Kuva. But maybe Kuva, to keep you on the spot here, with Højbjerg, is it maybe that? Is it that's why kind of people don't exactly, take a liking to him, or kind of like in your case, just don't really rate him as much as others, just because he isn't really, at the end of the day, a Real Madrid quality midfielder. He's not going to be the best midfielders in the world, kind of list. And maybe that's why he's just not liked so much, is because he's never going to make that sort of list, and he never is going to be that good.
Yes, it's just the sort of lack of eye-catching work, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
if he's not scoring a goal, you sometimes think the game slipped him by, and he's done a lot of work, but it doesn't capture the imagination, I think. So people will have a tendency to say that means they're playing a bad game. They're not necessarily. They could be just playing an uninspiring game, but it's exactly what the team needs. And I think what's a little bit unfair at the moment is giving him criticism when the partnership is working with Bentancur, because it's not broken. It's not a problem at the moment. In the future, you look to improve almost every position. But that's what you do. But right for now, I think perhaps the criticism of him is maybe a little bit over the top, but we could also easily be looking for an upgrade.
I think sometimes it's like there's the camp of people, me and Ellie, who are he's our favorite player, we praise him no matter what, and then there's the camp that sort of just doesn't rate him that highly, and then there's the camp that just thinks he's worse than Winks. And so I think, it's just, there's a level that I think there's a fine balance that probably could be reached, maybe
surely there couldn't be anybody that rates him worse than Winks.
You'll be surprised. You'll be
Alex,
surprised.
Alex, we know Alex.
Anybody being sensible.
But I don't know, like Matt, are we missing any, final theories before we move on from Højbjerg? Do you think maybe there's any other reasons as to why maybe he can be such a divisive, sort of player? Do you think we've hit everything? I think we've hit the passion merchant part. We've hit, the fact that he isn't the sexiest in midfielders. Any other maybe things that just kind of rub people off the wrong way with Højbjerg?
No, I think we've probably hit every topic that needs to be. I mean, even expanding a little bit on the passion merchant element of it, maybe people relate him a bit unfairly to players like Eric Lamela or like Moussa Sissoko or other players that kind of definitely fit that passion merchant kind of description a little bit more, and maybe making that comparison. I don't know.
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I do get the frustration towards Højbjerg at times. When he's bad, and he goes diving into tackles, he gives away the ball, and he's definitely more of a liability than an asset.
And he never says he's too tired. He never says he's injured when he probably has been. Exactly. I think that's what he's been accused of as well, which I agree. I think is bad. About a player. He kind of does what Harry Kane, to be fair, has done in the past, where he declares himself fit. When he probably knows maybe he isn't actually fit, and it's another thing maybe people don't like about Højbjerg, which I actually agree with, to be fair.
It was only last season that this guy walked off or hobbled off against Fulham, practically came back on and played with one leg for the remainder of the game. Look, this guy is an absolute warrior. You can't every team. You can't have 11 Rolls Royces or 11 ball players, because it just doesn't work. Because when the opposition does have the ball, I mean, how do you win it back? You have to have a player in that team that is willing to do the hard yards, to do the running about, to get stuck in. And it's just about identifying the right position in the pitch to do that. And it is usually center midfield. And look, Højbjerg is a good player. He's a winner. I'd rather have a winner here than people that don't want to win. And it's that simple. Like I hear a coup on Paul Pogba. Look, I actually think if you could get Paul Pogba playing and get him behind something, he'd be an absolutely fantastic midfielder. But the problem is with that guy is you don't know what Paul Pogba you're going to get on any given day. Whereas at least with Højbjerg, every single game, whether he has a good game or not, he's going to die trying.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually. That is a really good way to put it. Faz Radfar in here with the super chat saying Højbjerg is a double cheeseburger with extra ketchup. I guess the difference, though, is that Højbjerg may be that delicious double cheeseburger with extra ketchup, but Romero is like the double cheeseburger with blue cheese, maybe a bit of, aioli, on top of there as well. The brioche bun. Højbjerg might be more of a Five Guys sort of burger. It might be more of a Five Guys, gets the job done.
There's no bacon on that burger. Let me tell you something.
There's none. Absolutely none. I'm going to ask the next question, and then I will say I do have to shut all the windows because it is absolutely pelting rain. The summer is already starting here in Brooklyn. It was 30 degrees Celsius today, 30 degrees. It's absolutely miserable already. But guys, Antonio Conte, he's basically gotten Spurs from one of the worst in the league, from creating chances, from crosses and open play, to the best in the league. We've led stats in the most distance covered. We've created the third most big chances in the Premier League. We've scored the fourth most goals in the league, but also have been one of the most lethal goal-scoring teams in Europe in 2022 alone. Conte, when he first came in, I remember he had this sort of reputation as kind of like another Mourinho, as kind of a defensive manager. Philip, do you kind of think like maybe now under Conte, do you feel like this has kind of come all untrue? What maybe is, why is maybe Conte being labeled as sort of a defensive manager when in fact it seems like during his time here at Spurs, we've just been absolutely peltering teams with goals?
I suppose his reputation with other clubs, like what his past record, will probably indicate, yes, he does like the defensive side of thing. But what he's done at Spurs since he's come in, he's fixed our defensive problems to a large extent. Okay, he's worked on the defense first. Now he's moved on to the attack. Look at the end result. We've scored more goals this year than any other club. So at the moment, it's certainly unfair to call him a defensive coach when we're banging in goals right, left, and centre. And what's our last three games? 5, what was it 5-3-4?
Yeah,
Five against
Newcastle.
We're just losing count. We're just losing
Sorry,
count.
five against Newcastle and 4 against the Villa. You know, that doesn't smack of a defensive manager, really, does it? You know, because if that was the case, when we were 2-0 up, he'd be saying, right, lads, batten down the hatches, that'll do. But that's not happening now. We're going ahead. When we get 3-1 up, we won 4. We get 4, we won 5. And that's all coming from the bench. So while he may have had a reputation for defensive manager in the past, I would say no. I say no. He's letting the dogs out, I suppose, at the moment, and we're reaping the benefit of it.
What are your thoughts, maybe, Kuva? I know you know a little bit about the Serie A. Conte has had that reputation as a bit of a defensive manager, but even during his days at Inter, scored lots of goals with that team, and I think ended up being at one stage the best scoring team in even Serie A one season. Do you think, what is this sort of reputation that he came in with, that he was kind of a defensive manager? Did you have that sort of view of him beforehand? I mean, where do you think you're coming from on this?
Actually, Jack, I rarely watch the Serie A. It's the Eredivisie I like to watch when I'm not a bit of Spanish football as well. So, yeah, I've got to say, I've got to hold my hands up and say I'm guilty of thinking he was a defensive manager. I went on reputation. Didn't really pay too much interest when he was at Chelsea because it was making me sick that they were going to win the league. And I just sort of went, I remember hearing a few of his quotes and saying he wants his team to be in control. He doesn't want these 5-3 games. He's happy with like the 2-0 where you're completely in control. And I thought, sounds defensive, but that's not what he was hinting at. He just wants their team to be never in a position where they're playing so erratically. Your dominance is in doubt. He wants the team to make everything count. So he's happy to smash in 4 or 5 goals a game. Of course he is. He's totally won me over with the style of football, I must admit. We're playing some great stuff. It's not quite what we used to. I mean, I was a massive Pochettino fan. Some of the football we were playing there was just amazing. But it's not a million miles away, is it? It's you got the overlap, very attacking wing back still. You've still got Harry Kane and Sonny there for a start. Just add a few quality players to it, and we're playing some good stuff. So I've got no problem with it. Yeah, I do hold my hands up though. I was wrong about him. I'm one of the people that sort of bought into the narrative that he's a defensive. He's another Mourinho. Even Mourinho wasn't that defensive compared to some.
I think though, and I'm going to get back to you, Kuva, on this, but I think there is some sort of truth to the fact that he is a defensive manager because we've seen him set up very defensively in games. But do you think that maybe the difference is that he's not going for 1-0s? It's like he's setting up defensively and we're winning 3-0. We're winning 4-0. And that's maybe the difference. It's not full flowing attack like you're seeing from Bayern where they're just leaving one person left in the back line. It's, an organized system that still can score a lot of goals.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't see the sort of shut up shop entirely. There's always an idea behind it. Yeah. There's an outlet. There's a plan. Sometimes he has to make adjustments. Of course, it's not going to go perfectly for any manager. That's what they're paid for, is to make the little adjustments. Like as we saw against Villa, just minor adjustment of playing the ball a little bit longer to Kane, getting him up further up the field when he receives the ball, bypass that midfield congestion, goals start flowing. Conte must have been absolutely thrilled with that result. Seeing the defensive grit from the team when under pressure. He wouldn't have liked the fact that Villa were dominating. Of course he wouldn't, but he would have been pleased to say we weathered that storm and then absolutely smashed them.
Demoralized.
Sent the useless Midland rubbish back where they belong with no points, even though they're at home.
Pick up, Kuva. Just want to say hello to Sean. Good to see you in here, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Maddie, I think you remember Conte came in with that sort of reputation as, similar to Mourinho, came in as a very defensive manager, but in fact has been leading this team as to being one of the most kind of goal-scoring lethal sides of 2022. What do you think makes Conte such a good defensive manager, but I guess in comparison to Mourinho, still so good, going forward? It's still so lethal going forward.
It's really confusing because Look, the reputation for Conte,
we sit, compact, but we still score a lot of goals.
And that's for me where all this starts, right? There's a difference between being a defensive manager like Diego Simeone or being a manager who plays to the strengths of the squad he has at his disposal, which just so happens to be hitting teams in the counter-attack, like Antonio Conte. And to give him his credit where it's due, like Jose Mourinho when he was at Spurs. I mean, looking at that Inter Milan team last year, they scored 89 goals in the league. 89 goals in 38 games. They conceded 35, which, by the looks of it, is the best defensive record in the Serie A. But that's not exactly outrageous. Yeah. I mean, Atalanta actually scored one more. They scored 90 because they're a crazy team. But I think a few different things where the theory kind of came in. First of all, is because he's Italian. And if you're going to criticize an Italian manager, the easy way to go is, well, they play defensive football. He has to be a defensive manager. Yeah. And that in itself isn't fair. I also think there's an element of people thinking, well, there's no way Spurs got a world-class manager. There has to be some sort of fault in what he tries to do. There has to be some sort of weakness or some sort of area that we can criticize because Spurs won't get a world-class manager. But I feel like Philip kind of touched on a second ago with the way Conte built this team, he came in and the very first thing he did in our team was shored up that defense. And when Nuno was sacked, it was off the back of some horrific games. So we went to Burnley in the Cup. We didn't get a shot on target. I think we played West Ham in the league. And between that game and the next three, we went something like 300 minutes of football without a shot on target. And that's what we wanted to get rid of. We didn't want that. Antonio Conte came in, first game for him away at Everton at Goodison Park. We didn't have a shot on target. We drew that game 0-0, and we slowly got to a level where we could trust that defense. We got Christian Romero back in there, which is of course massive for us. And then Conte started working on the attack, and it's no surprise that it's only in the last couple of months that we've started scoring 4 against Leeds, 5 against Everton, 4 against Villa, 5 against Newcastle, because we've been working that team bit by bit to the point where we are able to go out and do that. So I don't think he's a defensive manager, but at times he plays defensive football because it's needed. If he was playing in a team where he had a world-class number 10, let's imagine he had Manchester City squad. If you think he's playing a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, whatever it is, and really focusing on defense before then going and scoring goals, you're wrong. He's not doing that. He's a manager, and I've said this many times. He came into the squad, he tinkered around with it at the start. He tried different formations. He kind of altered.
Makes sense a bit.
He alternated between a 3-4-3 and a 3-5-2. I think both had positive effects for us. I think they both worked to some extent, but he spent time figuring out what his best team was. And there's no surprise there's only been enforced changes in our starting 11 in the last 8 or 9 games because he found the players that he can trust, the players that he can rely on, and he created a system where each and every single one of them is playing to their strengths. And when you have a player who can pass the ball like Kane, when you have a player who can run onto passes like Son, and a player like Kulusevski, who I think is a wonderful kind of complementary aspect of the two of those, you're going to play in the counter. And I'm sorry, if you're going to criticize that, you just don't. I think you're doing that for the sake of you're wanting to play beautiful football for the sake of it. And I completely agree with Kuva. Pochettino's football was absolutely beautiful. And I miss those days. I really do. I miss being able to keep 70% possession in an opposition half and still win the game 4-0. But Spurs at the moment just don't have the ability to do that. So let's play whatever way we do have to play in order to get that 4-0 win. And Conte's doing that perfectly for me.
He certainly is. He certainly is. Dave, what are your thoughts on this whole subject? What do you think where did that reputation come from that Conte is a defensive manager? Do you think that was an unfair label? And what do you make of the fact that, he is basically been, especially in 2022, has made us one of the most lethal attacking sides in all of Europe, if not, just the Premier League, one of the best ones in Europe in 2022. He's kept us defensively solid. Don't get me wrong, Dave, but where do you think, how can he be defensively solid, but also really good going forward? Because I think nowadays you see one team is either really good going forward and then a bit suspect defensively, like the Bayerns and whatnot of the world. Whereas a Conte, solid defensively, but also lethal going forward. Why do you think that works?
I actually do think Conte is a defensive manager. You look what he done when he came in. He completely shored up the defense. You look up until recently, the defensive shape we were taking, the way Harry Kane and Son and all, the kind of defensive shape we took. Look, he was always going to come in here and sort out that defense first. But since we brought in players to be able to aid his formation and the way he wants to go, i.e. Bentancur and Kulusevski, it's completely transformed the formation. Look, the great Alex Ferguson once said, defense is what wins you leagues. And every manager will shore up the defense. And once you stop leaking goals, Then you start working on your transitions, your counter-attacking, you're going forward. And that's what he's been able to do. He sorted out that defense first. He got in Bentancur. That means then we can transition into attack once we get the ball. And then going forward, I mean, look, he's come into a team where you've got the best player in world football right now in his prime, Harry Kane. You've got the second best footballer in the world right now in his prime, Sonny. You've got Kulusevski, who, I mean, look, let's be honest, he settled in unbelievably well. For a 21-year-old to not be phased and come in and just settle in beside Harry Kane and Son, it's been unbelievable. And then, like, you also got Højbjerg in midfield, who will also help out his defence. And I still do think Antonio Conte is defensive first. But because our defence is so solid right now and our forward players are some of the best in the world, that's why you're seeing us hit for the scorelines we are. Look, me and Philip always used to say during the season when we were being battered, eventually some teams are going to be on the receiving end of a hiding. There's only so long you can keep Son and Kane locked up in a cage for. And now we're on a good run and teams are on the receiving end of that hiding. But Conte is still defensive first because he's still a defensive manager. He came in and solidified that defense first and then built the attack and play. But he's also been helped by that we have 2 world-class players in their prime and they're just clinical.
I think that's a really good point, Dave. And I kind of want to get onto this part. And I'm actually taking us back to that Sessegnon interview. And Philip, Bertie Hotspur saying Conte uses the perfect analysis who knows how to exploit the other team's weaknesses. Sessegnon kind of brought up that he's never had as such intense and detailed kind of tactical / video analysis, before under a manager. He said he's basically never been in the tactics room as long as he has been under Conte. Considering that Conte's been doing this with no preparation, no preseason or anything, and a lot of players have really taken a liking to his system. What do you think happens, Philip, when he has a whole summer, a whole preseason, to be working with players on the training ground and getting them in the tactics room? What do you think could happen?
Yeah, it's one of the great regrets, and I've said this a number of times on the channel. If we'd have got Conte in last July, where would we be now?
Yeah,
we would be pushing for the title, in my opinion. But I think the technical side of things, or the stats side of things, has taken over. I saw a picture recently of the Spurs backroom staff that deal totally with statistics and performance related stuff like that, and there was about 10 of them, which means you've got 10 people providing Conte with all the information that he needs on the opposition, on what our own players are doing, and it's quite amazing that things have moved on to that level now, where at a flick of a computer switch you can tell what next Saturday's opposition centre forward, how many goals he scored, how many shots he's got, and Conte uses all that information to drill into the team. I can imagine the team talks now. We used to be, come on lads, get out there and put a few goals past them. They're a bit more complicated than that now. Every player is given his brief what to do before he goes onto that pitch, and everybody knows exactly what their job is down to the nth degree. Who they're marking, who they've got to try and escape from up front, and Conte is a past master of that, and it's showing with our performances. It didn't happen immediately. It's taken a while, but how long is he with us now? Just over 5 months. Yeah. The improvement is immense over those 5 months. And I hesitate to think where we would be now if Nuno was still in charge.
That's dangerous.
It doesn't bear thinking about.
Still looking for our next shot on target, I think, Philip.
We'd be battling Everton at the bottom of the league. That's what we'd be.
I don't probably
be watching Barnet.
Yeah. Spot on. What do you think, though? Like, Kuva, maybe last little point here on Conte. I mean, is he gonna be able to, get this team into like that stat that Matt said, where we're kind of one of the, let's say next season, do you see us being the team that concedes the fewest, but maybe scores like the second or third most? Could that probably be the case next season? Could we be one of those sort of teams?
Well, it's a point I've been trying to make on a few channels this week and never get to finish the point, really. If Philip touched on it, if Conte had had a whole pre-season and got in the players nice and early in the summer, we would have been in a much better position than we are now. We wouldn't have been up there with Liverpool and Manchester City, but we would have been a good 6, 7, maybe 8, 9 points further towards
competing with Chelsea actually for third.
So we would be in touching distance of a few extra improvements actually getting us up there. It's not out of reach. it's not beyond the wildest dreams. It just takes some really good tweaks to the team. It takes a couple of really good signings to fit in. To maintain it is a different matter, because then you're going to need lots of players. You're going to need a full squad at 18, at least 18 really top players to keep doing it year after year after year.
Yeah.
But to have a pop at it next season, we could do it with as little as three or four players, maybe. Just have to be the right ones, the right upgrades in the right positions. Then the players that are dropping out of the team become the subs. They're the ones on the bench. We know some of these players now are dependable if they are called upon.
Yeah.
So why not? Let's dream.
I think you're starting to believe the quadruples on Cuva.
Damn right. Taking it all.
I used to love seeing that from Cuva in the chat. Come on, guys. The quadruples on every single day.
Quadruple is still on. American Idol still hasn't happened. We still
I literally put a £5 bet on it at the start of every season, because you never know.
That's it. You never know. You got to let the take over, baby.
It is actually quite ridiculous. This channel, because Cuva was very much instigated this on this channel, but at one stage we really were like thinking, oh well, I guess the quadruple is off. Now we're just hoping for the treble.
It's only bad refereeing decisions and the outrageous use of VAR this season where they've been correct. It's been robbing us. Yeah. I like the good old days where the VAR was just stayed atrocious and we were getting the benefit of it.
Yeah, it's actually fair. Oh, the peak delusion days. I do miss them. But Dave, maybe as a bonus question, let's say Antonio Conte had the players that he had right now. Take yourself back last season. Let's say he did have Bentancur and Kulusevski for the rest of the season. The whole summer of preparation. Does he maybe get us into third, second, first? Where would we be this season?
Yeah, I think you'd definitely be looking at third spot 100% for sure. And I don't think you'd be too far away from Liverpool, to be honest with you. I think you'd probably be, I think you'd definitely be looking at third spot 100%.
There you are. Well, I guess we're going to move on to the next question here. And everybody, as always, there's still 196 in the house. So really do hope that you guys are enjoying the show so far, and really do hit that like button while you're in here. Dan Coy says, buzzing for Saturday. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Harris Army.
Come on,
Dave,
Dan.
I think you need to tell Dan, I guess you put out a poll recently, Dave, maybe by the looks of it. Seems like Dan wants to get pumped up on the Friday night, Dave. Looks like, 64% want the Friday night pump up.
Well, if that's what people want, the pre-match pump up, it suits me perfect to do it tomorrow night. Saves me having to get up at 8:30 or 8 o'clock tomorrow on Saturday morning. So that works out in my favor. So I'll see you all here tomorrow night. So.
Oh, come on, David. Dan. Do a 24-hour pump up.
You have to.
Do you know what? Next time we make a final, I'll do a 24-hour pump up. No problem.
Can someone clip that and tweet that to me, please?
No problem.
Needs to be clipped. Everybody find them in at 141.50.
Next season it'll happen, because we'll be in finals next season. I'm so confident.
You might have a few different 24-hour pump ups then, Dave, because the quadruple would be on then, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, three finals.
More the merrier. Monster Energy is at half price at the minute. Anyway, it's buy one, get one free. So, at my local, so it's good.
Sounds prepared.
The big question is, which order do you think we should have the trophies in when we stack them on the table at the end of the season?
From little to large.
I'm telling you, we're as a fan base, and I fully love that question, Kuba, but as a fan base, we've gone from sacking 3 managers in the last 3 years to winning 6 games in a month, and we're like, what way to put the trophies? I love that so much.
Right.
I love
what's coming. You can feel it.
Like I said, Maddie, the fact that Kuva and I were talking about, I guess the quadruple isn't on, that we were saying that in the middle of the season is just sad. It really is just sad. But Dan, we'll be seeing you Friday, my man. David will be taking care of you Friday. He'll be getting you buzzed Friday night. Hopefully you're doing okay, though, Dan. Good to see you in here as always, and do appreciate the support, brother.
Big up, Danny boy.
Moving on. Conte, Philip, he did talk about, though, recently that, the lives of the players, he did say the lives of the players would be very different if they were to achieve Champions League versus Europa League or Conference League. How different would our season be next season if we did actually drop down into Europa League? Do you actually see the course of the season changing a lot? Do you see the players that we bring in, being very different? Do you agree with him that, the season and the lives of the players, if not Spurs fans, would be very different had we let's say, drop down in the Europa League versus maybe Champions League?
I mean, the first thing that's going to happen if we don't make the Champions League next season, the quality of players we can attract is going to change radically.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some players who will not go to the clubs unless they're playing in the Champions League, so that will probably knock some of our targets out. Okay, there's still players that will play in the Europa League, and it's still a good competition to be in. But to be in the Europa League next season from the position we're in now will be a huge dent in the fans' morale, and I'm sure the teams as well. Because I mean, we're in such a pinnacle at the moment, and we're expected to do it, and not to do it would be just, well, put it like this, to use a much maligned term, it'd be very Spursy to lose down. Drop down to the Europa League, and it would have an effect on the players. I mean, it'll have an effect on Harry Kane. At the moment, I'm very confident Harry Kane will stay, but if we don't get Champions League, he's going to have his brother in his ear again, trying to get him to move on. The articles
will come out, the Mirror,
make stories. Sky Sports will do specials on Harry Kane to Man City or Bayern Munich or Real Madrid or wherever, it's vitally important we get Champions League for a number of reasons. Financially, the money that it brings in, which can be used hopefully to buy players and not another yacht for Joe Lewis. Secondly, the players we can attract. Thirdly, the players we can keep, aka Harry Kane. And Conte will also look at his 18-month contract and say, hang on, lads, give me a longer contract. I like what's going on here.
Yeah.
And let's face it, if West Ham can get to the semi-final of the Europa League, what can Spurs do next season with a pre-season under Conte?
Yeah. Makes you think. Does make you think.
Yes, really good point, that one, because how many times do you hear fans saying, oh, no, be realistic. We can't do that. We can't do that. West Ham are doing it at the moment. What? Yeah. So what? They're so much better than us, are they? Don't think so.
No. No.
It's a good point. No. And
Philip,
as maybe a follow-up, do you feel like, how different though is the Champions League, sort of like player, like, do you think Harry Kane, do you think he actually does doubt himself? Do you think Conte maybe doubts the project? Do you think maybe the confidence around the squad really diminishes that much if we drop out of Champions League? Do you think maybe just the whole morale around the club probably changes?
Well, I mean, I personally think it'll affect the morale. It'd be different if we were never in contention for the Champions League. If we were sitting around 6th and 7th position all season and suddenly made a spurt and got the Europa League, we'd probably be delighted to get into the Europa League. But the fact now we've got the Champions League, it's ours to lose. And to lose it would be a dent in morale for everybody at the club and the fans. And it would give the doubting Thomases a summer to gloat over.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
Great,
I do not want to see that. I'm not naming any names now, but I do not want to see that happen. I want to see the Doubting Thomases with egg on their faces that were in the Champions League next season.
The Doubting Thomases, I do love it. Rob Coyne in here with the super chat saying big up. Yeah, Dave.
Oh no. Sorry. Go on. Sorry. Do that first, and then Matty Hayes is bowing out.
Okay, understood. Rob Coyne says, big up, lads. Glad we're playing great footy. We're back, baby. We're back. Cootie is some baller. Every single time, Rob, I asked the missus, what kit should I put on today? Should I put on the Højbjerg? She says, put on the Cootie. That's what she says. Put on the Cootie shirt. And so I listen, and that's what I do. And I would say maybe even the winning streak is probably down to maybe even me wearing that kit. Maybe the Højbjerg one was a bit more unlucky, Rob. But yeah, we're playing the good footy, and the boys are back. Anything maybe to say to Rob there, Dave? Very, very generous. And I must say, he's definitely maybe he's a bit far behind. Maybe he's, listening to the great Cootie conversation we had earlier.
Yeah, no, look, at the end of the day, we're back. I had no doubts about it. I predicted this when Bentancur and Kulu came in. I predicted Bentancur would transform the midfield and Kulu would do well. And look, I'm just delighted we're back because, to be honest with you, I'm just delighted to see so many Spurs fans, talking about Tottenham in a positive way, talking about Tottenham with their chest puffed out. I absolutely love it. It's great to see the positivity back because, look, you see it as when you're a content creator or you're on the channels the whole time. You see people dropping off because they just lose the love. They lose the interest with what's going on, and it's just great to see everybody back loving this club again. And it's at the end of the day, it's what we all want. And I'm really stoked about it. I'm so happy. And look, Cutie, I mean, what more can you say about this guy? This guy is just, he's a savage. I mean, he's an unbelievable defender. Last year, we had massive problems in defense. We couldn't get a steady partnership together. Look, we still had problems when we had Sanchez in beside Davies and Dyer this season. Romero comes in. All of a sudden, we're not as solid as a rock because we still concede some stupid goals. But, you know, we're a lot more solid, and it gives us the platform to go and win games. So,
absolutely, Dave. And Rob, I would just say, you know, like Kuva said earlier, I think it might have been actually, I think it was Philip, the highest praise you could probably give. The last player to ever play like Cootie was Graham Roberts, you know, according to Philip, which I think is just the highest of praises and shows how long Spurs have gone without having, you know, another Graham Roberts or something even similar in the side. But really big yourself up, Rob, and really do appreciate the really generous super chat as well. But Maddie, where can the people find you? Putting in the link yet again, where can people find you?
They can find me at Matt Hayes Tottenham blog, mainly doing transfer shows, building up for what I'm hoping will be an absolutely incredible summer transfer window for Tottenham. I'm sure we'll have some big signings. Whether or not they'll work out will be another story. We all know Spurs too well to get too excited just by a signing. But look, we'll still do it anyway. And the number one place for that, just breaking down all the news stories, letting you know what you can believe, what you can't believe, and giving you an analysis of the players that we could be bringing in. That's a challenge for me. But look, the main thing you need to support is David and Jack right here in the Irish Hotspur. They do absolutely incredible work. And to be honest, I don't know how they do these streams where they go on for so long with so many people. They do it all for the viewers. They are an incredible duo. And of course, Kuva and Philip as well, two brilliant people to have on the panel. So make sure to support those guys. And if you have a little bit of love left over, my channel is there waiting for you.
No, I do. And look, Axe Shegs, I think it sounds good anyway. He says Matty's Hayes channel is fire. So there you are, guys. Don't even need to big it up.
Certificate
the comments are doing it for the guys. So get over there, guys, and smash that subscribe button for all your transfer news. And I can tell you now, this single guy that was reported by Ali Gold, Pingu, or whatever you want to call him, you know, Matty told me about this last in the January transfer window. So, you know, when he's doing transfer streams, you got to get in. The guy's accurate.
Matizio Romano, as I've said. Matizio Romano. Spurs is on Fabrizio Romano.
You're too kind to me. You're too kind. Anyway, I'll talk to you all soon. I appreciate the invite on tonight. And everyone, hit that like button.
See you, Matty.
Talk to you.
Big up, Matty.
Come on, you Spurs.
Big up, Matty. Well done, Matty. And it's good to have him as always. Matizio Romano, good to be blessed by his presence. But anybody have any other opinions? I think we could actually move on to the next one. I think this could be an interesting one because everybody, there's 9 days between the World Cup final next season and the Premier League resuming. And this is what I find actually really interesting, Philip, is that while maybe some teams, you know, they have a lot of players that go off to these tournaments, a lot of their players aren't actually maybe the best players in their respective national sides, where I think Spurs have a unique scenario where a lot of our players actually happen to be the best players, or at least, you know, players that play full 90 minutes for their respective national sides. Kind of, for example, here, you know, with Bentancur going, you know, he's going to be playing every 90 minutes for Uruguay. Sonny's going to be playing every minute for South Korea. Højbjerg's going to be playing every single second for Denmark. Kane is going to be playing every minute for England. Hugo plays every minute for France. Romero's going to be playing every minute for Argentina. And when you kind of think about it, Bergwijn might be playing a lot of minutes for Netherlands, like as well. Do you maybe see Spurs' season being potentially affected by the World Cup competition, Philip? Because I feel like a lot of our players will be playing a lot of minutes in that.
Well, it could well be if the likes of England, Uruguay, Argentina, Korea, Holland, France get to the latter stages of the competition. Okay, if a team goes out after the group stages, they come home and that's it. They're back.
Yeah, and then they get 2 weeks vacation.
It's the teams that go on further in the competition. If they have Spurs players in their ranks, which they're bound to have, then yes, it could have an effect. Because you've got say England win the World Cup, okay? You're going to have the celebrations are going to carry on for years, may I say, and that's going to affect the Premiership when the players come back. If England lose the World, get beaten in the final like they were in the Europa, there's going to be a deep depression over the whole bloody lot when it comes back. So yeah, I think it will affect players one way or the other. I mean, it's ridiculous to have such a small length of time between the end of the competition and the start of the Premiership. They should have waited at least another week. Wait into the first week in January and start it there. But that's the greed again. That's the FA wanting the Christmas money. You know, the Christmas,
they wanted to still do Boxing Day games. You're right. Yeah,
yeah,
still wanted to
exactly.
do
Yeah, they
Boxing Day.
want the money in. So they've had very little regard for the welfare of the players. And like all I can say is they'll probably be they wouldn't want to have Liverpool versus Man City on Boxing Day this year. You know, you want to have the matches spread out as much top versus bottom as much as you can, because you don't want blockbuster games and putting those players straight back into the pressure that they're going to generate after 9 days after a World Cup final. So it will have an effect. Hopefully not too much. The one thing I'm worried about, hopefully none of our players get injured badly out there. But that's a bigger fear.
Point.
Playing in that, it's a ridiculous place to be playing the World Cup anyway. You know, even in November, December, it should never have been given there. But playing matches under air-conditioned stadium in that heat, there's going to be problems, fitness-wise, health-wise, and injury-wise. And let's just hope it's other teams get injured, not us.
Just a quick follow-up, Philip. You mentioned Liverpool, right? Like, let's say we play Liverpool on Boxing Day. You kind of think about it, like Liverpool, that front three, like my point being is that front three actually will not be playing in teams that will make it that far in the World Cup, or even be like the starting players. Like, let's say Firmino, will he even make that squad? Jota doesn't exactly play every minute, for Portugal. You look at, Salah and Mane, are they really going to make it that far? Salah's not even going to be in the World Cup. So my point being, Philip, is you kind of look at it like Kane's going to be for England. That's a World Cup contender. You look at Romero for Argentina. That's a World Cup contender. You look at even Højbjerg for Denmark. I mean, they made the semifinals of the Euros. Like, they probably might go quite far, especially with that kind of new Eriksen kind of vibe that's going on with, bringing him back. They have a strong camaraderie there. You could see them going far. And then with Hugo being a World Cup winner himself, you could see France going very far. So my kind of problem here is that I feel like a lot of our players could end up being in that final. One of our players, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why
I think other teams won't have players that will be in that final.
The request has been made to the powers that be in the FA or the Premiership or whatever, not to put top 6 teams together in matches around Christmas. To try and hit that problem in the belt before it actually hits us. Because
it's kind of crazy that they're even saying that, though, like out loud. That
Man City are going to have quite
teams together.
Man City are going to have quite a few players at the World Cup, I think. So.
Yeah.
And what about Arsenal? Well, no, I wouldn't even class them as a top 6 team. I think we're probably going to be one of the worst affected.
I looked at the other squads, Philip. I looked at the other squad. You even look at Phil Foden, like, right, for England, like, he's not going to be playing as much as Harry Kane.
Well,
and he's actually going to be more focused on the haircut he's getting more than the actual play that he'll have in the World Cup.
Let's just say, in line with previous experiences with the FA, if the FA can stick it to Spurs, they probably will.
There you are.
Yeah.
There you are.
There's the answer.
They will.
The bottom dude, just with the super chat saying, late again today. David, I hope your back is better now. Get some Italian players in the summer. They aren't playing in the World Cup.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's probably where we'll be going for our transfers. I mean, I'm sure Italy is going to be number 1 destination for Paratici again in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, there seems to be a fire sale going on at some of the clubs at the moment. Inter have put 3 players up for sale, and we could be interested in all of them.
I would definitely take an Inter fire sale. I would take more Juventus rejects. I guess I'd just take anything at this stage, from Italy. And also Wilfred Singo, that player that we are rumored with, is a hell of a baller as well. But in terms of actual Italian national players, I mean, I don't know. That kind of made me think about that Spinazzola guy, to be fair. Like, he could play left wing back, could play right wing back. Maybe we just go after, a few Italian players that won't have anything to do, this coming winter. That'd be definitely a nice way to go about it. And they also would be with Conte in the squad, just training the whole time over the World Cup as well, which might not be a bad idea, actually. Get some players, go after players who aren't playing in the World Cup. Maybe not a bad idea.
Do you think you might see some teams maybe actually adopt that approach because they can work with them, and while the World Cup's going on? Look, they will get a bit of a break. They'll probably get a week or 2 off, but you can call them back early and you can rely on them for the likes of the Boxing Day fixtures and stuff like that. Do you actually think you might see the transfer market shape up a bit like that?
What do you think, Kuba? Like, because everybody's kind of worried about buying Bale, because it's like, will he just train really hard until the World Cup and then just turn off? or will he even care? Some people are thinking it'll be the opposite. He won't even try until the World Cup, and then he'll try once the World Cup is over. Do you think maybe this is a good approach? Just go after players that just won't be in the World Cup.
Well, yeah, definitely go after players that aren't in the World Cup, because Italy aren't. I mean, let's go and get Bastoni, Barella, and Spinazzola. Oh, yeah,
right,
yeah,
Bastoni,
please.
Barella.
All
Our top targets that we never thought we'd get.
Yeah, why not? It's a good plan. I think the bigger thing for me about this whole situation is how utterly disgusting it is that this World Cup is even going ahead.
Yeah.
The sheer
Absolutely.
level of corruption, as FIFA's just openly corrupt for a long time. They're just getting away with murder. Did Sepp Blatter even serve a day in prison? I don't think he has he? It's just gets
he
away
actually
with
even
anything.
released a propaganda movie about himself even recently as well. About his own
It's
life.
just a disgust. I mean, as soon as he was, all these accusations came up, and we knew this was going on anyway. The bribery and the little brown paper envelopes going to people for their votes. Soon as that all got found out, why the hell do you still carry on with this plan to play in Qatar? But surely that needs to be looked into immediately. I mean,
think it
it's
has
just
been looked
ridiculous.
into. I think it has been looked into.
Yeah,
but FIFA doesn't have its own, internal, kind of, whatever you call it.
Exactly. Nothing's going to happen, is it? It'll go ahead. Nobody gets in trouble. It's all swept under the carpet, same as usual. It's utterly disgusting. But
Might as well
if we're going to sway away from that and just concentrate on the football, because I mean, it's enough to get you angry anyway. I think. Yeah, it's the timing's horrendous. We've got too many games anyway, and we're bending to FIFA's wishes. It's all about the money again. They just get the TV revenue. They don't care about the effect on anybody's league or the players. It makes you a bit sick, really. I feel like the World Cup's lost something in recent years as well.
I agree.
It's not the same feel good factor it used to be. Yeah.
I agree.
No, I think that's the only thing you can get from it. It might be worth shopping from teams that aren't in it. That's probably the big thing, isn't it? Because prices will go through the roof for the players that are doing well or performing in the World Cup. It might be that time. Get Bastoni. If we do nothing but get Bastoni, I'm still going to be pretty pleased next season.
Actually, our best transfer targets happen to be all Italian. What do you think about it? The best central midfielder we could go for is probably Barella, Italian. The best left-sided center back we could go for is Bastoni, Italian. And then, like I said, I know even some other players in that Italian team, I think we'd be happy to take as well.
Add a little cheeky little Chiesa as well in there.
I love him.
Even the big number 9 that might not even make that team, but doesn't have anything to hope for with the World Cup. Maybe that Scamacca guy we just bring through. It's I actually agree, Philip. Go full Italian. Let's go full Italian this summer. Sounds nice. Yeah. There you are, an Italian summer. That's where we're going for to Bottom Dude. Big yourself up to Bottom Dude. I really appreciate it as well. Wishing David well on his back.
Yeah, because thankfully all the Italians have nothing to do with corruption, do they?
No. They only invented
it.
Really kind to Bottom Dude. Great question as well. Jay Coe said, "Did I join too late? 4-1 Saturday. My Sonny with 2. Never too late, Jay. Never too late. Sonny with 2. I could actually see that, and maybe even another Sonny hat trick because Harry Kane's given up the goals to see Sonny get that golden boot. Jay, he's probably trying to boost Sonny up, kind of piggyback him up to catch up with Salah. So I would say maybe boost that up to 3, my man.
Yeah. No, look, never too late either, my man. Pre-match build-up tomorrow evening. So we'll have it tomorrow evening. And look, I'll definitely note that. Look, I hope, Sonny. Look, Kane's not going to catch more Salah now, and I actually hope Sonny does catch more Salah and Harry Kane catches Trent Alexander-Arnold in the assist. I think Harry Kane is 4 off Trent in the assist to be top assister, and Sonny's only a couple off Mo Salah to be top scorer. And it'll be unbelievable to end the season having both, considering we only really started kicking on in February. That would be absolutely unbelievable. Big up, Jay.
Big up,
no,
Jay.
let's have Kulusevski as top assister. That'll be a hell of a finish for him, then, won't it?
He's six off Trent Alexander-Arnold. So he's got 6. Harry Kane has 8 in the Premier League, and Alexander-Arnold has 12. But the mad thing is that Kulusevski has only made his debut on the 18th of February, and he's already got 6.
Maybe he'll catch up.
Out of the question, but
no, it's not.
Perhaps not quite enough games. But the rate he's going is fantastic.
He's already caught up to Lucas, which is just silly. Like, that's just silly that he's caught up to Lucas with less than 1,000 minutes played as well. Less than 1,000 minutes, and he's already caught up to Lucas. And I think even right now in this stage, he has like a goal-creating action per game, so far as well, which is just ridiculous. Ben Kaufman saying, big up, gents. I put a great list of rejects in the Irish Hotspur group chat. I hope you enjoy it. Love a nice reject. Come on, you Spurs.
I'm actually looking at the list. I'm looking at the list here now.
What is it?
This is in response to, this is in response to the reject allegation about Kulusevski and Betancourt and Romero. Jimmy Greaves, AC Milan reject. Ronaldinho, PSG reject. Salah, Chelsea reject. De Bruyne, Chelsea reject. Messi, Barcelona reject. Harry Kane, Arsenal reject. We'll carry on here. Graham Souness, Tottenham reject. Eric Cantona, Leeds United reject. And Ruud Gullit, Arsenal reject.
And I see one further down.
He's done a massive job there. There must be 50 people mentioned that list. Trying to prove a point. You've done it, my man.
I particularly like Roy Keane, Cobb Ramblers reject.
He actually has Robbie Keane in there as a Inter Milan reject, so he does. I've seen that one. Reject. Ben's on fire.
He's really flying it tonight now. He really is. We must have an extra cup of coffee this evening.
Yeah, go for a triple espresso, my man. Go for a triple espresso.
I would say an espresso martini, Dave. That's what he's earned himself. An espresso martini, made especially by the Kaufman. That sounds delicious.
Do you know what I love?
On there earlier about that now.
Ever since Ben has the new catchphrase, he's got like a newfound sense of confidence. Can you smell what the calf is brewing? And the confidence he has off the back of it. I love it. Big up, Benji.
Big up, Ben Kaufman. Absolute legend. Good to have you in here, Ben, and really do appreciate support as well, brother. To Bottom Duda saying, Paratici is at play when you see different players associated with us every single day. I mean, to Bottom Duda, it's been the case since the day when he's gotten here, especially over the summer. It was actually a lot worse over the summer than it was probably over the season, which makes sense. Once the summer starts up again, I bet we'll be linked with 1,000 different players, all at once. But this is my thing. I wonder how much of that is Paratici's fault, and I wonder how much of that is also just media speculation. I think a bit of it is Paratici, kind of leaving some crumbs of players, for the media to circle around. But I think also a lot of it is just the sun in the mirror, just being like, oh, this left-sided center back's having a good season. Let's just link him with Spurs, and say Paratici likes him. I think it's a bit of a mix of both to Bottom Duda, but to be fair, the guy probably has the longest and biggest cell phone bill in the entire world. So I wouldn't be surprised if, we are linked with a lot of players because he's just calling up everybody.
What I will say is Paratici does do it. Don't forget, we had Amrabat lined up due to come in. All of a sudden, we go and we bring in Betancourt, and Amrabat's dreams are absolutely dashed. So, I mean, Paratici does use the market to his benefit. And I also believe he's probably smart enough to manipulate the press to his benefit as well, to be honest with you. You see all these links flying around. No one knows who's we're linked with. And then all of a sudden, we pull in some of these players that you're looking at it, and you're like, they have no reason to come to Spurs. Like Romero, we had no reason to get him. He was playing Champions League football. Betancourt, Kulusevski from Juve, we had no reason getting him. But at the end of the day, we did. And I think Paratici, look, at the end of the day, look, the transfer window is a massive fucking money spinner. It's worth billions of pounds due to all the articles, the bets placed on it, everything else. So you're always going to get it no matter what. But a smart guy uses that to his advantage, and I think Paratici does.
There you are. Big up to Bottom Duda. And I would say the longest phone bill in the world, but, all for good reason, because he's trying to get in the players for Spurs, and he's trying to cook the books as well to Bottom Duda, which is also good to see.
Yeah.
Big up. Really appreciate support. Ben Kaufman says, I think something has snapped. Big up, Ben. Also, just wanted to say hello to Spurs fan as well, and then wanted to say hello or good night to Old Soul. Just wanted to wish Old Soul a good night.
Old Soul.
Good night, my man. Good night, my man. All right, lads, last question of the evening, nice and quick before we move on to the extra time. And I think we'll start with Philip yet again. Would you consider, Philip, including Troy Parrott in the 25-man squad next season, and then instead putting Dane Scarlett out on loan? So Troy Parrott comes back, and then Dane Scarlett goes out on loan. What do you think of that sort of move?
Parrott's done very well for MK Dons in recent weeks. He scored a few crackers. It's a difficult one. That I don't know. Dane Scarlett is a great talent as well, but I'm letting the Irishness in me come through on this one. So yeah, I'd put him in the squad next season.
Could you make the argument that Dane Scarlett kind of needs to go out on loan eventually?
Possibly, yeah, possibly. Yeah. Troy Parrott's done it now for 2 seasons, so let him come back to the club for it. Okay, if it doesn't work out, they can move him on. And I think Dane Scarlett could do with getting regular game time. So send him out on loan, bring Troy Parrott back in, and a good backup for Harry Kane should, Harry Kane ever get injured. Hopefully not.
Good answer. Good answer. And nice and short to the point. Kuva, what are your thoughts? Maybe coming from, less of a recency bias like the rest of us are with Troy Parrott. Do you think he would take Dane Scarlett's spot next season? Because when we kind of think about it, that spot that he's taking is a spot that really involves no minutes at all. But would you think he'd make the 25-man squad over Scarlett maybe next season?
Honestly, I've got to say I just haven't watched him enough. I can't really say.
Haven't seen the occasional 5-second, banger.
That's very little clips. I mean,
it's all over Twitter. That's all we're seeing.
It sounds like he's doing a good job at the moment. It seems to be enjoying himself.
One MK Dons player of the year as well.
I'm going to take the complete cop. Yeah, I'll take the complete cop out and just say, if Conte thinks he's good enough for the squad, then he's good enough for the squad. If not, get him out on loan again. Make sure he's playing competitive football. End of the day, that's what you need from these youngsters. I think it's been a complete waste of a season for Dane Scarlett. I think he did. Although there is something to be said for training with world-class players is going to improve.
Especially at 18 or 19. Yeah.
But if he really needs to be getting out for first-team football as well, perhaps that's what we'll see next season. He'll go out anyway on loan after having got that further education from like Kane and Son. Troy Parrott, I just can't answer it. I don't know. I just don't watch him enough.
I've seen all the same Twitter clips as you have, Kuva. Believe me, all I've heard is just the information. But I'm going to go to Dave here. Troy Parrott, Dave, he actually needed to go out on loan, because he had a few attitude problems, and whatnot, and had some things going on in the background. Dane Scarlett is, kind of so far from what we know, a very model professional, is learning from Harry Kane, seems to be very motivated. But considering the fact that Troy Parrott has done quite well on loan this season, maybe things are changing in his head. Do you think that maybe it's better to bring him back into the squad and actually then send Dane Scarlett out on loan to maybe have, that time to develop like Harry Kane even did?
Look, I've actually seen a development in Troy Parrott. I have seen an improvement in terms of mentality, and that mentality hasn't improved fortunes on the pitch. Look, Troy Parrott was already in with the big wigs before he even had a name in the game. He was out partying with Dele Alli a lot of the times. He was out hanging around with gangsters' sons and stuff like that. And he was not in good company. And he kind of lost his way. He thought he was one of the big boys without actually without having any skin in the game, really. But look, he was at a point where he was just too good for the under-23s. He was banging them in, week out. Way too good. But he wasn't good enough at senior level. He had a couple of games with Tottenham. Pochettino gave him a game or two and that. I was just disappointed with the sort of impact he had. As well with Ireland, look, he came into Ireland. He wasn't having a great impact. But over the last few months, or over the course of this season, I've seen a massive improvement. And it all started last summer with his 2 goals against, I think it was against Moldova for Ireland. He completely changed the course of that game. He grabbed the game by scruff of the neck and won us the game. You look what he done against Lithuania when he came on. I mean, that game was absolutely shocking. Troy Parrott came on, and his endeavour and his willingness to try. He scored an absolute screamer to win the game, but he also could have scored 1 or 2 before that, and he completely changed how that game was going. And when you see a young lad like that coming in and having them impacts on them games and changing them games, and you look at what he's doing down in League One, I mean, for me, you see, for me, I think the guy is definitely on the right path. And I think if we buy a striker, I think you can send Dane Scarlett and Troy Parrott both out on loan. But I think if you don't buy one, I would give Troy Parrott a chance and send Dane Scarlett out on loan. To be honest with you, I think Troy Parrott would probably make a bit more of an impact than Dane Scarlett because he's had that experience down in the lower leagues. Now, look, I was more than happy to keep Dane Scarlett around this year purely because I'd rather give a guy like him who's come through the academy the minutes than bringing in a journeyman like we had with Vinicius and giving him the minutes. And for me, look, you look at it, Dane Scarlett needs that. He needs to go down the leagues to get that men's football in him. He's too good. You hear Jose Mourinho, Conte, the words they've said about this guy. He's too good to be playing under 23s, but he's not quite good enough to be in the Tottenham team at all. So for me, I definitely think he needs that loan. But Troy Parrott, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he came back next season. I think having a year around Harry Kane wouldn't do him any harm whatsoever. I think Troy Parrott is also bulked up a little bit, and I think he knows how to handle himself a bit more. And I think he'd definitely have a bit more of an impact than Dane Scarlett next season. I think reversing that would do well, but I do think Troy Parrott, I think if we could get another striker, it'd be ideal to loan the two of them out.
Yeah, I actually agree. It'd probably be better just to loan the two of them out, especially since we're already going to be bringing in, ideally, a backup striker in this summer anyways. Maybe you do just keep one of them around the squad just to sort of be there. But then when you think about it, that probably just halts both of their progress. You'd probably rather just maybe keep Troy Parrott out on loan yet again, make him prove it twice, make him do it all over again, make him, have another good, spell again. And then in Dane Scarlett, develop him in the same way that, we kind of developed Harry Kane to an extent as well. And I guess Dane Scarlett, though, is a bit different from Harry Kane because no one really knew about Harry Kane at the age of 17. Dane Scarlett's been well known since like a very, very young age. So there's kind of a bit of molding and kind of crafting that needs to be done there where, like you said, Dave, maybe it wasn't the best idea to just loan him out right away because that could maybe be a bit too harsh on him. And even someone put in the comments, he's 17 or 18, which might even be illegal or something to loan out a kid at that sort of age as well. So I feel like Dane Scarlett needs to develop soon before he gets too complacent or before he, maybe thinks that this is just what the football life is like. But at the same time, I think we need to, not maybe throw him into the, how do you say, David, like you don't want to just put him into a bad situation that like, a club that's struggling and then he just doesn't play the whole season and he gets a bad experience out of it. So we do have to pick carefully about both of their destinations. I do agree. Bottom Duda saying,
sorry, go on. I was going to say, on the other hand, you could throw him into a struggling club and he gets that experience of finding a way to make the team work when he is under that pressure. I think that can be more valuable than just having an easy ride sometimes.
Yeah, but I think what we want, right, Kuva, is we don't want him to be in the situation that some other players on loan. I think we even called back someone on loan because they hadn't played like a single minute.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So that's what we don't want is, a club to tell us that, yeah, don't worry, we'll give Dane minutes. And then they end up
no good for anybody, is it? No.
But I think what happens is that the championship as well as League One gets brutal, at times. And you're probably thinking to yourself, like, we're down in relegation. Like, we can't just throw in this 18-year-old kid for Spurs, just to make them happy, sort of situation. And I think that's where the risk runs is like, you have to make sure that the club maybe honors their end of the agreement, maybe on the loan, and that the manager really does want that player. And the manager knows that he can get something out of that player because I don't think it was Kiana Tete, but it was another player that we brought back recently that, I think Levy sent a harshly worded email to about how, they didn't use a single minute of him. And that wasn't the agreement, of course. And I don't want Dane to fall into that situation. Don't want Troy Parrott to fall into that situation either. I guess in Troy Parrott's, though, his was kind of self-made. I think the reason he probably wasn't playing at other club teams because, like David said, was maybe hanging around the wrong crowd. But yeah, I mean, maybe any other. Sorry, I cut across everybody. Any other Troy Parrott points? Any Dane Scarlett points?
No, just going to add to it as well. Luckily, there is in place that system where you can recall the player. It depends on the loan agreement, doesn't it? But it makes sense. You can recall them, perhaps send them out somewhere, because it's not always going to work out, is it?
Yeah, true.
I agree.
100%.
Bottom Duda saying, question for the panel. Will you be happy if we sign Asensio as the only player in the midfield? I'll just put my foot down. Asensio for the midfield? Absolutely not. Here's my one thing, though. I find him to be a bit useless certain games when I watch him. But then there are other games where I watch Asensio, and some of the best, like, I'm not kidding, some of the best, like, 30-yard, 40-yard bangers in my lifetime I've actually seen from Asensio. The guy has a real shot on him and does have a good finish on him. I think if anything, if we were to get him to Bottom Duda, we'd get him as a sort of competition for Kulusevski, because you kind of see him play a bit similar to Kulusevski, someone that doesn't rely on pace, someone that's a bit more creative than they are really a goal scorer out there. So you could see Asensio play as a right wing in the midfield. I can't put him there. I don't think he's that type of player. I really don't. And to be fair, he's really dropped off a cliff as well. So I would be a bit worried, about bringing in somebody like that. It's a tough decision. But as a right winger, maybe to compete with Kulusevski, if there's a good deal there, that's what I would do to Bottom Duda. But Dave, what do you think?
Look, I'll be honest, Asensio's not really a player I like, to be honest with you. I think, look, there was a lot of hype about him, but he's had a real fall from grace. And look, for me, I think there's a lot better targets out there. I'm more along the lines of Kuva. We're going to get someone in, to compete with Kulu or something like that. I'd rather get in a Chiesa or something like that.
I might have a soft spot for Asensio to Bottom Duda, because I actually remember watching one of his debut games in which he scored some 30-yard screamer, which I think led to all the hype around him and everything, because it was like some sensational debut that I watched him have. So maybe he's just never really reached the heights. And sometimes that's the case with players. They have some ridiculous debut or some ridiculous game in their early career, and then they just never replicate those sort of performances consistently. But I will say there is, at least in long shots, that guy does have a left foot on him, and also is left-footed, so would be similar to Kulusevski in that regard as well. But not maybe my first choice. But good question, Bottom Duda. Very good question. We move on to we move on to the extra time, everybody. 175 people still in the house. Do appreciate everybody. Do hit that like. Keep throwing in the comments as well, and throw in the super chats if you feel like you have a good take on maybe these extra times, or just to throw a bit of support to the channel as well. I really wish we kept Matt for this first question, because once I found out that he was being on the panel, I actually changed the extra time first question here. But these are all the left-sided center backs that Spurs have been heavily rumored with. I left out Pau Torres because I'm not really sure about that one happening. But we do have Gavardiol from RB Leipzig. We have Bastoni from Inter Milan. We have Sven Botman from Lille, and we have Schlotterbeck from Freiburg. What's your guys' first choice? I'm going to go first. I think it's Bastoni. If I were to make a second choice, I might go for Schlotterbeck. I've seen him a bit, and he's actually quite class, and actually is tall. He's exactly what Sean wants. 6'3", good in the air, good ball playing center back as well. Been playing for a really good team that's not very good, but has been performing exceptionally well in the Bundesliga. And he actually, to be fair, wants to make that World Cup squad for Germany. So if he were to play for a team like Spurs, take Ben Davies' spot, be exactly what he probably wants. But I would take Bastoni first, don't get me wrong, but maybe go for a cheeky Schlotterbeck. But Dave, what do you think?
Me, it's between Bastoni or Botman. Really like both of them. I really like Botman. I really like what he's about. Big guy as well, big unit. Bastoni, I really like him as well. He's a cool, calm customer. Bastoni or Botman for me, Jack.
The Bottom Duda has gone for Gavardiol first, which is very, very interesting. I must say, I think Gavardiol to Bottom Duda, I feel like he looks good because of the system at RB. I think he's a really good player, don't get me wrong, but I think the system over at RB Leipzig, as well as the Bundesliga, are kind of why his stats are so good and why he looks so good is just because of the Bundesliga. But I'm not taking away from him being a brilliant player, but I think you have to go Bastoni first, right, Guva?
I can't see past Bastoni there. If you got a choice out of those four, he jumps out a mile ahead of the others for me.
Yeah. Second choice,
Botman, I'd be happy with any of them, to be honest. I mean, they're all upgrades.
No strong opinions.
They're all good ball players. But Bastoni, he is absolute world class
Creme de la
Rolls
creme.
Royce player. He's just something else.
I think he's already been, even before this season started, he already was regarded as basically the best left-sided center back in the world, before the season even started, and he's continued more of the same. So I think
he's an absolute dream sort of signing. I doubt we're going to get him. I just think he's that good.
He's that invaluable, probably as well. Don't put a price on him. But Philip, maybe any opinions on the left-sided center backs?
No, the two Bs. Bastoni and Botman, in that order.
Love it.
Wow.
And then let's move on.
To be honest with you, I've heard very little about the other two, so I'll stick with Bastoni and Botman.
Stick with the Bs. Stick with the Bs.
Mm-hmm.
I must admit, I didn't see a lot of Schlotterbeck until he came up on Flat Cap Euro Talk, and
a lot of people recommended him. I didn't even know about him prior, and then everybody was telling me this guy's doing
I must admit, he looks pretty good, doesn't he?
He does, and he even was playing in the Germany games recently, was starting for them, which I think shows that maybe even Hansi Flick, who I think is a very underrated manager, if he even likes him, that's also a good sign. Number 2, can Pape Matar make the squad next season? Because there could be a potential chance he get loaned out again. Basically, my question is here, Philip, do you think Pape Matar can play the Harry Winks role next season? Will he be that fourth choice central
sitting
midfield?
On the bench all the time?
Yeah. Do you see him playing that role, or do you see him being put out on loan again?
I'd like to see what he's made of for a season. I mean, what's the point in buying a player and loaning them out? Like, I know Chelsea do it all the time. I'd bring him in. Okay, depending on who we buy next season, say we're one player short in the midfield with the purchases. Bring him in, stick him in the squad, see how he does. Sending him out on loan again is probably only going to mean he's going to have a stormer for his other club and probably get transferred off without ever playing for Spurs. So, bring him in. He's supposed to be a really good player, so why not?
I mean, when we saw from at least, the moments that we saw from, his kind of just highlight reels, especially a few games that he played last season, was a real baller, but hasn't even really played very many minutes this season.
He's playing for a crap team this season, that's why. He's really playing for a struggling team, yeah. So, bring him back. Bring him back.
Might not be a coincidence, everybody. I must say, the fact that his team last season weren't really flirting with relegation and he played a ton of minutes. Now this season, he's barely played and they're deep in the relegation fight. Maybe not a coincidence there. Maybe he actually was kind of holding that team up. Who knows? Who knows? I don't watch. I don't watch French
soccer, so I don't really know.
Yeah. I don't think plenty of us do. Even Kuva, prefers the Eredivisie in the Spanish league over Liga.
Definitely.
What do you think, Kuva? Can he play that Harry Winks role next season?
What, sat on the bench or something?
Yeah, can he be that pretty guy? Can he be the pretty guy on the bench? Can he be the guy with a nice haircut on the bench?
I sincerely hope I'm wrong, but this to me reeks of a Daniel Levy signing. It's the up and coming youngster he wants to make a quick money out of.
Yeah.
I think
Levy never see a minute for Spurs.
Levy a while back. So for me, he got into his head that we can do what Chelsea do, just buy players, and just our name is going to improve their value. The reason it works at Chelsea so well is they win things, and we're not. I just see this being another one that's speculative buy that he thinks he's going to make a quick 10 million on, and will be ever so clever, and it's not going to work out. I'd sincerely hope I'm wrong, but give everybody a chance. If he comes over, impresses in training, who knows?
And probably that is actually a good, fair point there, Kuva, that maybe he is a Daniel Levy signing. And Daniel Levy, I mean, we saw that it worked out for Chelsea, that sort of system, and they even got sort of in trouble for it because it was working out so well for them. Maybe he could be that De Bruyne to Wolfsburg sort of, kind of a signing for us, where we just keep him around the squad, never actually plays, and then we just sell him off for 35 million, or something like that to some club that actually wants to play him. I could see that happening. I would want to see him play that Harry Winks role, if I'm going to be honest, next season. Dave, put him out on loan again, or do you want him to play the Harry Winks role?
No, I want him to come in and be given a chance, or at least, given a chance in training to show what he can offer. And plus, what sort of message would that send out to Ndombele if you put this guy in the pecking order? I guarantee he won't be long about finding a new club out of here. For me, look, I would give him a chance this preseason to see what he can offer to this team, especially, again, You know, just say to Harry Winks, look, this guy's coming in. It's between you and him for that 4th spot. Which, anyway, I'm not really too concerned about Winks. I think Winks is gone this summer. I think Ollie Skipp feels everything that Harry Winks does on the registration squad. So I think Harry Winks stays our number. We just kept him around just purely because he had a better attitude than the rest. So, yeah, I'd like Papa Martissar to come in and at least be given a chance in preseason to see what he can do. Because at the end of the day, look, we've got Antonio Conte in charge. He's a winner. So I predict we're going to go far or we're going to go deep in all competitions next season. So you're going to need the players.
Interesting. Number 3, Depay, Richarlison, or Dybala. And this is actually, these are 3 players that Spurs have been linked with a few separate occasions. You know, I think we supposedly put in a bid for Depay just to, you know, see if they would kind of bite. Richarlison is being linked with everybody. I think he even signed with an agency recently that a lot of Spurs players are also, you know, a part of. Dybala, I mean, don't need to explain, always linked with Spurs. Which one do you take is really the big question here. I must say, I'm not going to take Richarlison, but I would make the case I would take Richarlison over Dybala because I think Richarlison, while being a bit of a hothead, has shown he is a good player in bad teams. Bad teams. That Watford side that he was in, I remember even his debut at the time. It was like actually a very impressive debut for a really bad Watford side. It was kind of during like the tail end of those Marco Silva days over at Watford when it wasn't going very well. Over at Everton, I think he's shown that he can play well in a really atrocious side. He shows moments of brilliance, and he's also still quite young, Richarlison. I think he's like 24 or 23 or something still. Like the guy still has plenty of time on his side. Big unit. I think shows that he's physical enough and dominant enough to play in the Premier League. Easy backup number 9. Can also take Sonny's position potentially if Sonny were out. I would make the case that Richarlison would be a better case than Dybala, but I might take Depay over all of them, actually. I do actually rate Depay that much. But Dave, who do you take?
Yeah, for me, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I'd rather Depay out of all of them. I'm a big fan of the guy.
Kuva?
Wouldn't really take any of them, to be honest.
Tell me why.
Well, Depay, before he came to United, I thought he was really exciting. Great player. United ruined him. He kind of recovered, but I don't see him coming back to the Premiership as being a good move. I really don't. I think there's just something about playing in our league he doesn't get on with. It could have been. You could argue
it'll burn you twice.
Yeah, you could argue he was too young at the time, but I just didn't see anything that suggested he'd fit into me. Obviously, great talent. He's a very skillful player. Richarlison, of the 3, I think you've reasoned it fairly well, Jack. He's got the physical attributes. He's shown that he can do a job in the Premiership with absolute garbage teams. I mean, Everton.
How did Dave put it the other day? If you have Alex Iwobi and Andros Townsend on either side of you, you wouldn't probably pass very much. You know, when you think
not already. Dybala at one point, when we were first going for Dybala, I thought, that makes sense. He's a quality player, but it's dragged on, and I think sometimes this happens for a reason. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. There's the opportunities that being missed. I'll get this feeling with him. Again, I hope if we do get him, obviously, hope I'm wrong. I mean, he's obviously got talent.
Is you rate his talent in rapping quickly? Because Lazy Yates says he doesn't want any more untalented rappers, at the club either, like Galini.
Well, is Galini crap at rapping compared to his goalkeeping? I think he's probably world class at rapping in comparison.
What's his better talent? What's his better talent? What's his better hobby?
Fair point, though.
I think football is more of a hobby, maybe for Galini. Probably, the rapping career is really what he's trying to get taken off. Philip, do you have any of these players that you like maybe more than another?
Not particularly enamored of any of them, really, but I think the one I would take purely for his Premier League experience and would hit the ground running with Richarlison. Decent enough player. Depay didn't do it at United. Dybala is a bit of a mercenary. So unlikely we'll get any of them, but I go for Richarlison. And purely because he wouldn't need to be introduced to the Premiership.
Yeah. I think seems like everybody's gone for maybe the sure bet, with Richarlison. I guess we know what we're getting, when it comes to Richarlison. These are three players that have all been kind of tipped to probably leave this summer / players I think we should kind of get rid of this summer because I don't think they're quality enough backups or squad players. Joe Rodon, Sanchez, and Tanganga. I figured we could kind of each take one of them, or if whichever one you think you would want to make, the best sort of career move for them. You're basically their agent in this sort of question. You're Rodon's agent. Where would you send him? If I were Joe Rodon, I think I would everybody says Brighton is the best club for him. I don't think so because he's not a technically gifted footballer by any means, in my opinion. So I don't see him playing for Brighton because I think Brighton, you still need a bit of technical skill to play in that team. Dan Burn is quite good on the ball before he left. I think Adam Webster is quite good on the ball. Obviously, they had Ben White before that. So I don't really see Joe Rodon fitting there. I actually see him going to a Burnley. I see him doing quite well at a team like a Burnley, to be honest. But anybody have any opinions on if you were Joe Rodon's agent? Anybody? I don't have to, anybody that want to be his agent for this question.
For me, go back to Swansea. I just don't see a Premiership player there.
I agree.
I'd send him to Watford. That's where most Spurs players end up anyway.
I'll be honest, Rodon and Sanchez, I couldn't care less where they end up. They're not good enough for Tottenham Hotspur. And Tanganga, I kind of do care. He's come through the ranks. So, I think someone like Celtic would be good for Tanganga for a year. Get a good run of games under his belt. Get him up over the board. Get a good run of games under him. Probably be playing in Europe as well. So I think it'd be good for him. But Rodon and Sanchez, look, not good enough to be here. Couldn't care less where they go after.
Maybe for Sanchez, I think Kuba might like this one. I'd send him to a Rayo Vallecano, maybe. Sanchez do well at a Cadiz, potentially.
Yeah, perhaps a less physical league, less intense sort of pressing and things like that. He can play well. He was fantastic when he was in Holland. So, it'd benefit greatly if he got to the right team. He's just not a Premiership player, is he?
Yeah. No. Philip, what do you think is the best club for Tanganga? Is it abroad?
Celtic.
Is it
Celtic? Yeah. Look what Carter Vickers has done up there. They're probably going to buy him permanently at the end of the season. So yeah, send him up to Celtic, and I only send him on loan now. It's because I think he's got a future at Spurs. Of all those three, he's the only one that has.
Bottom Duda here saying Rodon to Celtic or Ajax. I don't think.
No way is he going to Ajax. No way.
Not at his age as well. I don't even think they buy players older than that unless they know that it's going to be like a Dusan Tadic or something like that they know will be good.
Ajax would be a good move for Tanganga, though, in terms of developing his on-the-ball skills.
I don't think they would take him.
Develop him, yeah. I don't think they'll be patient enough. I think he's too far down the road to. Tanganga's so. It pains me because I love his attitude. I love his physical side to his game. I love the way he gets stuck in, but it really pains me to say I just don't think he's a very good footballer. It's hard to take that because you really want to see your own homegrown ones coming through, and it pains me. I just don't think he's good enough. I don't see him going to the likes of AC Milan. That Celtic shout might not be a bad one.
Yeah. I think Celtic or Rangers. I think one of them would be good for his development.
If he did go abroad, I actually think his suggestion of Lazio is not bad. It's a back three. If Tanganga were to go abroad, he should go to a system where he learns how to play in a back three. Especially if Conte were to stick around, then he could come back having that experience with an Italian back three. Then could maybe somehow make it as a squad player. But I agree with Kuva. I don't really ever see him being a starter for us ever. Maybe he could become good enough to be a squad player for us for maybe the rest of time, kind of be like a Ben Davies or Harry Winks, just sit around the club for 8 or 9 years, play the occasional 7 or 8 games in a row. But I think maybe a Lazio is not a bad shout, actually. And then Celtic, I think, is actually probably more realistic maybe for him. But if I were to stretch it, I think Lazio wouldn't be a bad idea. Moving him to the French league, it's hard to say because I think there are teams that in the French league that play really technical football. Like if he went to a Nice, he would learn a lot because he'd be with Christophe Galtier. But he could then go to a Marseille, and I think he would not learn anything over there, if I were to be honest. So it's tough. It really is tough. Maybe it seems like everybody has a softer spot for Tanganga, which I think makes a lot of sense. Someone said Tanganga to West Brom. That also could make sense. I think Celtic, though, I do like that sort of decision. Maybe gives him a bit more confidence. Could kind of play for a good team where he dominates, the league, but doesn't be put under the cosh all the time. Maybe that's exactly what he needs. But yeah, there you are, everybody. The end of extra time. Really appreciate that super chat as well to Bottom Duda, giving the answers as well. Love to see that. I like your answers as well. But yeah, Dave, back to you.
Yeah, look, I just want to say, Jack, thank you for today's show. I thought, questions were really good. Really enjoyed the conversation we got into. But Jack, where can people find you? You've a channel to plug.
Let's see. What do I have to plug? Everybody, I would just say, watch my Simeone rant. I basically have a big, nice, long rant about why I think it's a bit ridiculous for people to shame Simeone, shame Atletico for deciding to play defensive football against Man City. I find that all of the comments made about, some of the shithousery Atletico do, some of the time wasting they do, I find it to be very hypocritical. I think that every team does that. I think even the way that people talk about the way they play football to be a bit disrespectful. It's kind of just a big, long rant about why I think basically you should keep Simeone and Atletico Madrid out of your mouth, is basically what the rant is about. So let me know if you enjoy it. If you disagree with me as well, feel free to put it in the comments, because I think there will be a fair few disagreements as well. It's just kind of my own personal opinion, less analytical than anything. So do hope you guys enjoy it. Kind of a bit of a twist. When I get back from, kind of the big weekend, I'm going to be putting out that, I was wrong about Xavi's Barcelona, but I would say the timing of that might not be so good nowadays. So maybe I delayed that one a bit too long, because now it looks like I'm looking a bit right maybe about Xavi's Barcelona at this stage. But everybody do head on over to flatcapeurotalk. That's what I would say. Watch the Wilfred Singo scout report made months ago. Watch some other scout reports about players we're interested in that have come out months ago. And then in terms of recent content, watch that Diego Simeone rant.
Yeah, spot on. Everyone get over to the Flat Cap Euro Talk. Transfer season is upon us. And, smash that subscribe button and check out, all the scout reports and see what players you would like to come to Tottenham Hotspur. Kuva, you anything to plug, my man?
Just the channels in general. I mean, we all know the big channels are that are doing well. Yourselves, you cruise past the 6,000 mark in no time at all. After hitting the 5,000, so don't really need to big you up. You're doing well. But it's the littler channels I like to big up. Shelfside Spurs just hit 400.
Yeah, brilliant.
Reds has just wickedly hot tortilla chip live on air to celebrate hitting the 300 mark, let alone 400. Paxton Road I enjoy. Mari's Love Lounge is really funny. Anything with a little bit of something different about it, I'll turn to like nowadays. I'll tend to stay away from the larger channels in favour of the smaller ones. You tend to get a little bit more interaction with the comments and things. I think you do a remarkable job keeping up with a lot of them, to be fair, on your channel, Jack and David, because that's a lot of followers.
Do you know what? It gets harder. In a way, I feel bad and I feel guilty sometimes, because it does get harder and harder and harder. But look, we just try our best. At the end of the day, we're not professionals at this. We're just two lads trying to make it, and we do try our best. But you know what, Kuva? I love the fact that you're a big fan of the little channels. I think Shelfside Spurs is definitely one. I like Rez, like Barry as well, Alan. Good guys over there. Good guys.
Yeah, hilarious.
And Philip, I think I speak for everybody here. It is great to have you back out here in the community doing your thing, my man. You bring a lot of positivity and you bring the humor with you as well. So never, ever lose that, my man. Thank you for tonight.
No, I'll be in the South Stand on Saturday cheering the boys on. And
come on.
I'm back here Monday night, tell you all about it.
Oh, I was just going to come to you, Philip. I was going to say, first of all, you and Oliver got to record a match vlog for the channel. I think people definitely like to see your day.
We'll do that.
But,
we'll probably do. I think we're meeting up with Ellie. We're going to meet up with Ellie as well, so we might do something there and broadcast it out over the weekend.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely awesome. Anywhere in particular you're going to be, just in case there's people out there that might want to come and have a chat to you about Spurs, Philip?
Well, we're going to be in the club shop, I'd say, about an hour before the match. And I'm going to have a chat with Graham at the protest as well.
Nice.
And then after that, I think we're in the South Stand on the upper level. So Can't remember exactly where, but somewhere in the south stand anyway. You know, so keep an eye out for us.
Keep an eye out for the Godfather.
I'm sure they will. You have a lot of fans, you know. A lot of people tend to listen to you, Philip. I think they think of you as like their granddad, you know. Everyone listens to you when you speak. No, honestly though, I really do hope you enjoy the trip, Philip. I really do hope you get the win, especially after that Wolves one we had to suffer together. And I really do hope you enjoy your day and hopefully you can bring the luck of the Irish with you, my man. And again,
just one thing. I hope I don't get if we lose, I hope we don't get a Brighton fan sitting next to me on the plane home like I had at the Wolves game.
Oh,
jeez.
The Wolves fan sat in beside me. Imagine that for an hour. I just couldn't get off that plane quick enough, you know.
Oh, stop. I would have asked to be moved, to be honest with you. I would have kicked up eruption to be moved. I would have been too fuming, you know. I would have been gloating about a win. I'd be like, look, winning against a team at Harry Winks in the midfield, please. You know what I mean? You can
put me in the underbelly of the plane.
Yeah, put me down the luggage, you know. But no, honestly, absolutely love it. Guys, I want to say a massive...
There's one really quick thing I was just going to say about Jack's Simeone rant. I think I'm of the same opinion as Rez is from Shelfside Spurs, in that anything that is going to annoy or upset the likes of PSG, Manchester City, Chelsea, Newcastle, I'm all for it. Get in their faces, upset them, shithousery for 90 minutes. Give it to them.
Why are we defending Man City? Why are we, why are we all of a sudden, defending Man City and what they do? Well said, Kuba. Well said.
Yeah.
That was probably an argument that I actually missed, in fact, probably in that big little rant, but completely agree.
No, I really, 100% I agree. I mean, look, a lot of people kind of frowned upon the tactics used yesterday. I'll be honest. For me, I was sitting there with the lube out. I was absolutely loving it. I'm honest. And for me, I love it. It's old school. It's, look, maybe not on the same technical level as them, but you can always bring them down to your level, and you got to love that. But look, guys, we are going to end off there. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you guys out there for the support that you continue to show us from the start till this day, and all the support you show the other channels. Look, I speak for me and on behalf of everybody else, we really do appreciate you guys tuning in, making our channel what it is. So, look, we'll see you all back here tomorrow for a pre-match pump-up. Look, I know it's a day early, but, look, it's what the people want, and it means I can have a bit of a lie-in until the pre-match pump-up at We're Talking TV. I don't have to be up for 7 Saturday morning, which I'm not very good at getting up very early either, that sort of time in the morning. So, look, guys, we'll see you all back here tomorrow. Stay safe. Come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust.
Come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust.